Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are doing well. I know we're kicking off the weekend, and if you guys are watching me, I am live on October 25th, Friday, and we're doing a live tarot reading. So if you can see me, give me a thumbs up, like the stream, and if this is your first time here, say hello, drop me a comment in the chat. And make sure you click the bell button below and subscribe to the channel. We are here every Friday, generally. We alternate each week between tarot and astrology. So we're going to be doing tarot readings this evening. If you guys want to get a reading, you can scan the QR code right up there. That's going to take you to my PayPal where you can make a donation. We're going to be doing 1 and 3 card spreads. So it's $20 donation for 1 card, $40 for a 3 card spread. Please, 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 in the memo box, put your question, any information pertaining to your reading that you think I should know. We also take Super Chat, so if you're in the chat and you would like to get a reading, you can go through Super Chat, or you guys can join my memberships. So I'm a full-time content creator here on YouTube. I put out 4 videos a week, long-form content on astrology and the happenings with what's going on in the world, how to navigate your life, and we kind of learn astrology along the way. So if you guys like my content, you guys can join my memberships and support me. There's 3 different levels, and level 3 gets you a reading with me once a month. So just want to say big thank you to all of the members and the new subscribers. Basically, we go in the order of the readings that we receive them. You'll see an overhead shot, and you'll see me pull the cards in live time and be doing these readings for you guys. You can hang out in the chat and give feedback. What's up, Dorothy? How are you doing? Jazzy. Hey, Nancy, I did not see a reading come in for you. So I saw that you said that you put the question, but sometimes when you go to the chat early, the chat doesn't always save your question. So I see that you said, I left a question for Scott. You'll watch the replay, you're at work. So if you hear this, or if you're listening to the beginning of this, I don't have a donation for you, and it looks like you're not on my list of membership. So I don't know, maybe if your membership changed, let me know. What's up, T? What's up, Kurt? Hey, Tiana. Hey, Skylar. So let's see. What did Skylar say? I got a reading from you in 2022. You mentioned I go through things dealing with the law in March of 23. Crazy thing is I went to jail. Woo! Well, I hope everything's going okay. What's up, Leica? I requested a reading, but I not put a question. However, I want to know what the cards say about romantic relationships. No worries. If you guys didn't put in your question, when I get to your name, you'll hear me call out your name. You can put your question in the comment, and we will be going in the order that we receive them. So this is the last reading that we are going to be doing for the month of October. So if you're a level 3 member and you want to cash in on your reading, please let me know. I'd be happy to give you your reading for the month, or you guys can join me. You guys can come back next Friday. We're going to be doing new moon readings for that new moon in Scorpio. Okay. All right. So here's who I've got so far. Dorothy's level 3. We're going to take Dorothy unless there's any other level 3 people that pop in here. Alana, Shalika. We've got Matt, Jennifer, Astrid, and I'm not sure who Lightworker is. Is that you, Leica? I'm not sure. What's up, Paula? I'll add you to my list. Put you in there. So we've got Dorothy and Paula. And I will generally go through and update you guys and let you know every 4 or 5 readings or so if there are other people who have been added to the list. So I know sometimes you are like, did you get me? Vanessa got in there, so she's in there as well. So don't worry, you'll hear me call out your name if I got you, and I also will call out a few names in advance. This is just me letting you know that you're on deck for a reading. So if you hear your name, just be aware, be ready because I'm going to be dealing your guys' cards. All right. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started with Dorothy and then Paula. You guys are going to be the first ones. And Paula, let me know if you have a specific question or if you would like a general reading. All right, so let's see what Dorothy says. Dorothy says, I will send my question, but I wanted to get in the queue for tonight. Happy birthday in 3 weeks. Well, thank you. It's coming up. And she said, I'm trying to figure out if this guy I've been talking to is going to be a short-term thing or something more. He's a Sag rising, Leo sun, and Taurus moon. Okay, cool. Well, let's take a look. Being a Sag rising, the Jupiter transit that's going on in the 7th house is generally pretty positive for relationships. Probably a lot of figuring things out, I would imagine, with this upcoming Mercury retrograde for Sag risings. You know, the Mercury retrograde in the first house, opposing Jupiter in the 7th, the squares to Saturn in the 4th, kind of figuring out where you're going. Thank you, 13-7. I appreciate it. David's in the chat. All right, so let's see what is up with this Sag rising, Leo sun, Taurus moon for Dorothy. What do we need to be aware of? Is there something legitimate here? What is the future looking like in regards to Dorothy's love connection? All right, so in this order, 3 of Swords, 3 of Coins, 5 of Wands, okay? So I'm wondering, and like, you know, obviously I would just say just generally, when I think about like the Sagittarius rising horoscope, I think about how Jupiter is bringing opportunity for relationships and like connecting with new people and bringing new people in. And there's this sense of reevaluating, making up their mind, making decisions about relationships and whether or not they have the time or the energy or the space emotionally, right, to participate in relationships. So I say this and I preference this because 3 of Swords is coming up in the past position. So this can basically mean that they're overcoming some challenges in relationships in the past. Like they're still healing something. Maybe they're going through, you know, some difficult kind of trials right now emotionally. I think about how the 3 of Swords can be saying that it's a time to kind of like heal the wounds and the issues and like the heartbreak so you can move forward. And maybe a lot of with the 3 of Swords in the past position is like talking about the experiences they've had and like where they're coming from. So I wonder if that's something that has come up. I assume that there is a possibility that that will be something that will be discussed over the next like 3 weeks or 3 months. So I think about how, you know, as we're getting into end of November into December, like there will be that Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius and it will oppose Jupiter in the 7th. So there's a back and forth, like that's like, what do I want? What am I looking for? Where's my head at in relation to others? And that will square Saturn, right? So I think the 3 weeks, 3 month timeline is actually pretty accurate. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a warning sign, but like I think it's important to kind of know like where they're coming from. 3 of Coins in the current position. So this is the right now position. And this is saying, once again, like there's opportunity to build together. This is a pretty fortuitous card, working as a team. And also having like a common goal and like building towards something. So it doesn't really seem like there's an interest in just aimlessly dating for you or for this other person. Like there's like an investment that is going to be made. Time, emotions, feelings, all that stuff. 3 of Coins does say that like there is something working towards, like it's worth working towards getting to that point. Maybe it's saying it's like the 3 month mark and then you kind of feel it out and then you're like, okay, you know, we feel like we've kind of seen each other for a while. Is this a good fit? I do think that this card in the current position means like stay invested in it, like stay with it. Like it's worth the effort getting to know somebody or like making time for someone. 5 of Wands in the final position. So this does talk about like challenges, like overcoming challenges. It can talk about there being conflicting energies, like it being challenging to be able to stay focused on the relationship. This is a card that does talk about a lot of things happening at one time and feeling like things are moving very quickly. As you may or may not know, Sag risings are kind of like the bachelors of the zodiac. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, they need freedom. And so I think about like what's coming in the next couple of months where there is going to be this complete reassessment of who am I, what do I want, you know, and like you may need to just give them that time and space to figure it out, especially because that retrograde is going to square Saturn. And so a lot of it can be about things that are kind of coming from their home, their family, their living situation. It can be about overcoming the past and like past situations in relationships and like being able to kind of work through that. You may feel like this person like has their walls up too. Like the 5 of Wands for me is just kind of like when you try to get close, you know, and things start going well, you can kind of feel like you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So take notice of where there is not necessarily friction, but there is a tendency for them to kind of keep you at arm's length. And if you talk about it or if you call them out on it, you know, they can become a little bit like combative and be like, well, what do you mean? You know, and there could be like some back and forth if you're like, what's going on? Like, why is it that you're making it difficult for this to be able to progress? What I like about the Five of Wands is that it does mean that we have to kind of like rise to the occasion, right? Like the next card is about kind of Six of Wands coming out on top and being able to overcome a situation and standing your ground. So it may mean that, you may hit your first kind of hurdle in dating, and you really start to kind of figure out who each other are. And there is some kind of like challenge that you're going to be facing. And it's about working through that and being like, we're not just going to throw in the towel and walk away. Let's work through it. Let's not just kind of crash and burn like the relationship. I do feel like it's helpful to really talk about the past. And I'm not saying you have to bring it up. This is your confirmation card. You get Six of Swords. So it does look like you guys will be able to move through whatever this is and like it'll kind of calm down. But it's important to talk about where they've been and the experiences that they've have had, especially when it comes to like their perspective of relationships. Because if you know where they've been and what they've experienced, you're going to know what their kind of triggers or their fears are or their hangups are. And like you can actually work together to be able to kind of smooth that over and avoid it. And I think with the confirmation card of the Six of Swords is kind of like, okay, we can actually move through this. It's going to calm down. It's not going to be something super critical. But it can also represent that once you kind of get to that 3-month mark of seeing each other and you feel like, okay, when you really have a fight and you see how that person like handles things, you're going to look at it and go like, is this something that I feel like I can do? Like, can I be in a relationship with somebody who handles conflict this way? Obviously, Five of Wands, you see a bunch of people, they're just kind of attacking each other, right? And so the goal is to work together, not to kind of like work against each other. And so that might be something that you want to remind them of, and you might start seeing that the way that they're acting and kind of reacting is less tied to you. It's more tied to like their reaction habits and patterns from previous relationships. And they may have like this preconceived notion that's like relationships are difficult. It's really hard. Like it's difficult to talk to people and it's easier to just like go my own way. And I would encourage them to communicate with you, right? The swords are about communication and learning, and it's about being like, okay, we can actually move on from this. It doesn't need to be something that, kind of hinders us from being able to be in a committed relationship. So too long didn't listen. I would give it 3 months. I would see how it goes. And I would definitely do a little bit of like investigating and asking them, what they're looking for and what they've experienced in previous relationships. And maybe even ask them, like, what's one thing that you feel like you could have done better in a previous relationship? Or like, what was like the one challenge that you encountered in your last relationship? So you have a sense of awareness of where some of the problems have come up, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, Dorothy. Keep us updated on all the love stuff. All right, so we have Paula. She says, I would like to know about my recovery. I don't think I'm going to my old job. All right, well, let's take a look at what we can tell Paula about her recovery. Alana, Shalika, and Matt, you guys are all on deck. All right, so let's take a look at what we can tell Paula about her recovery and what it looks like. Sounds like she may not be going back to work right now. All right, so in this order, we have got 9 of Wands, the Strength card, and the 4 of Cups. All right, well, there is a progression where things get better, right? So the 4 of Cups is a card that can be about being like a little unsatisfied or not feeling like totally thrilled about the current situation, right? Every time I say this card, like I always tell my students, look at the body language of the guy who's sitting underneath the tree, right? And we would think that sitting on the tree, being grounded, being able to kind of have firm roots and also having like security and protection of the tree would be a good thing. But in reality, he's not happy. He may not be totally present or totally focused on what's in front of him. He may have a hard time seeing like the bigger picture. And his arms are crossed, his legs are crossed. So he's kind of like, not open to any kind of connection, or there is a sense of feeling emotionally blocked or not feeling fulfilled, not happy, bored, right? Disappointed. So this card is coming up in the right now position. So essentially what this means for you is that there is a sense of being like, I don't like the situation at hand right now. I'm not totally thrilled about what's going on. It might be, what's going on with health stuff, or you're feeling like a little disgruntled, or you're feeling like, challenged getting through this particular period of time, especially emotionally. The cups deal with emotions. What's interesting is that, the only cloud in the sky, so it's saying that, it is possible for things to clear up. It is possible for things to get better, is a cloud that's offering an Ace of Cups. And it's saying, hey, people are trying to give you support. People are trying to give you love. You have opportunity for relationships. You have opportunity for emotional connection. Perhaps it can be about refilling your own cup, right? The Ace of Cups is not just about romantic love. It's about being complete and being whole and feeling like, you know, you have the capabilities of being able to pour into your own cup rather than kind of taking care of everybody else. So you may not like the fact that you have to heal right now. You may not like the fact that other people are kind of showing up and helping you or giving you some kind of support, or you feel like that's something that's like uncomfortable, but you're supposed to be receiving it, right? And the Ace of Cups can also represent a new relationship. So it's saying that it's giving you the opportunity for your relationships to flourish, for them to blossom. Granted, it could also mean that there's another potential opportunity in the future for a relationship with like a new employer, right? So you could be working with someone new, or they could come back and they could say, hey, we still want to work with you, you know, take your time, do your thing. And you're like, I don't want to hear that, you know, or I don't want to be told that. And the Three of Cups that's sitting at its feet represents in the future that there's opportunity for celebration, gathering, getting together, like feeling fulfilled, like having some reason to be happy, and that there are positive things that are going to be coming from this time. So that could be healing, not just physical healing, but emotional healing. And like the downtime that you have, even though you feel like this is not really how you want things to go, that it could actually end up being positive. And I feel that this is very true looking at the other two cards that are coming. If you notice the Strength card and the Nine of Coins, first of all, these are both positive cards, but the cards are bright yellow, which is about vitality, right? This is about life. This is about also joy. It's about happiness. It's about fulfillment, creativity. And the Strength card is in the current position. So this is a major card. So this is one of the major 22 arcanas. When it pops up in a reading, it's kind of like, hey, this is significant. So the Strength card can be talking about physical strength, emotional strength. It can also be talking about like recognizing and realizing just how strong you are through being able to kind of move through the circumstances. And, you know, with this card, I always tell clients, like, this is about also learning not to try to control a situation, like letting it be in its natural state. Obviously, we've got a woman that's embracing a lion. You know, lions can be dangerous. They can be scary. We never know what's going to happen. So you could be approaching the situation like, you know what, I'm just trying to kind of just hold space for whatever is meant to happen. I'm just trying to not force the situation. I'm not putting pressure on myself working, or, you know, possibly going back to work, or, you know, being stressed out about healing. It's just like, I'm just going to accept things the way that it is right now. And I'm going to have faith and I'm going to be strong. The Strength card also does talk a lot about when we have transits going through the sign of Leo. So it can be talking about like a Leo full moon that we're going to have in the new year. It can be talking about the time period as we're getting into the 8th month of the year next year. So that can be kind of like a marker that maybe you're like, okay, you know, I'm just going to be where I'm at right now. I'm just going to accept things for what it is and focus on healing so I can kind of get back into work if that's something that I decide that I want to do. But it's also reminding you that this period is like a trial, like you're being tested, and it's to see like just exactly how strong you are and what you're capable of being able to overcome. This is also really great for like support and generosity from other people. It could also be about like children or romantic partners. But the Strength card has that connection to Leo. So it could also be about like the relationship that you have with children and like how they play a role in helping you feel loved and supported. The final card is the Nine of Coins, which, you know, if somebody's asking me like, hey, I'm sick, you know, or I'm dealing with a diagnosis, or I've got something going on, like, am I going to recover? I always want to see some kind of pentacle, right? At least one of the positive pentacles that's going to kind of indicate like strength and health and vitality it will come back. But one of the cards that I really like to see is the Nine of Coins, because this is saying not only will things get better, will you bounce back, but like you're going to feel like you're going to be more capable again in the future. You're going to have more independence again. You're going to have resources again. It's going to be at your fingertips. Nine of Coins is a card that talks about having everything that you need financially to be self-sufficient, to indulge, to enjoy yourself, to be comfortable, and like treating yourself well in a financial sense. But relating to health, it's saying like, you know, I'm going to be able to take care of myself. I'm going to be fine. Like everything's going to be fine. And I will get to that point. But it is reminding you whenever you're dealing with the coins that it takes a little bit more time. Like coins can be seen as a matter of months or the 9th month. So when I think about the Strength card coming up, I'm like, you know what, you know, probably for the better part of the next couple of weeks, you know, or months, you're not totally thrilled with the circumstances, but being present with what's going on right now, accepting the situation for what it is, focusing on healing, not allowing yourself to get too in a funk emotionally, and really prioritizing your health and recognizing that this is an opportunity to see just how much you're willing to kind of take care of yourself and your own, personal strength in the matter. You'll come out on top. Things will be fine. And you're not going to be in a situation where you're not going to, be unfulfilled. You're not going to be in a situation where you're going to feel like somebody else has to take care of you. Like, things will get better. But it can be leading into like the summer of 2025 where you're starting to feel like the tide is turning and now you have a little bit more freedom. Okay. I also wonder at the 9 of Coins if that's like, I'm not going back to my job and I want to do something for myself, or I want to build something for myself, or I want to acquire wealth in a way where, I'm the boss, or I have some kind of control over what I'm doing. Because this is a card that is very much tied to like independence and not feeling like you have to rely on other people, that you can give yourself what it is that you need, or that you can be successful and abundant without the support of other people. All right. I hope that's helpful for you, Paula. Sending you lots of good healing vibes as you go through the next couple of months. We've got Alana, Shalika, and then Matt. What's up, Whitney? What's up, Jacob? All right, let me update my little list here and see if there's anybody else who popped in. So if you're just checking in, you want to get a reading, you can scan the QR code right up here. And you can get in there and you can get your reading. Looks like Vanessa, Lula, am I saying that correct? Who else? We have Melody, we have David, and Miss Martin. How do you pronounce your first name? Tricia? Am I saying that right? I hate when people mispronounce my name, so I want to make sure I'm saying your guys' names right. All right, so we have Alana, Shalika, there we go, and then Matt. All right, let's see what Miss Alana has to say. I don't know if I saw a question for you, Alana. Are you there? Okay, got it. So Alana, if you're here, let me know your question. Leica, got it. What's up, Alana? How's it going, girl? Put the cards out for you and see what it is I can help you with. She says, I'm dating a guy and he totally lost his mojo. Ooh, we are really struggling and it's only been 2 months. Not sure if I should give up or not. I'm also super hopeless about jobs. Aren't you 29 degrees Virgo rising? 1, 2, 3. Might have an opportunity to relocate to Denver. Everything's up in the air. Yes, I am. Okay. All right, so this is what I've got for you. We've got 9 of Swords, Temperance, and the Star card. The astrologer side of my brain is really thinking about Neptune and Saturn coming into your 7th house, okay? And so your descendant is at like a critical degree. It's 29, and 29 is about some kind of major conclusion or completion. And Pisces can be about where people get weird, they kind of isolate, they get quiet, there can be some stuff they're going through emotionally or psychologically. So I'm just kind of thinking about that. So keep in mind that the transits are really going to be playing out in a very big way. Like, you had an eclipse there, but it's going to be playing out in a very big way in the spring. Neptune's going to come back to 29, Saturn's going to hit 29, Mercury's going to retrograde there, Venus is going to retrograde there. I say this like lovingly. Do not make big decisions based off of other people right now, because they may prove to be unreliable. All right. So I'm not saying like dump your dude, move to Denver. I'm just saying like see what happens with the relationship. But if you've got other things that are potentially showing up that could be really beneficial for you in the long term, especially for like your career and your living situation, because that's tied to the Mercury retrograde. Mercury's going to go retrograde in your 4th in end of November to December, where you're going to reassess a living situation. You're going to be like, oh my God, am I moving? And it's going to oppose Jupiter. It's going to be for a job. And then it's going to score Saturn and Neptune. And you're going to be like, what the fuck's going on with this dude? I'm going to tell you right now, they will prove to be unreliable. Okay, regardless of what the cards say. Nine of Swords is I'm stressed out. It's falling apart. What's going on? What can I do? What's going to happen? Like, and the truth is that when the Nine of Swords comes up, there is stress, there is an anxiety, but there's like things that you're stressed out about, that you're either losing sleep about, stressing out about, that you don't have control over. Thankfully, it's in the previous position. So it's saying this has been going on for some time. Temperance card in the center position is saying that this is a time of peace, balance, recalibration, making big decisions, and also like giving yourself the time and the space and the grace to allow the pieces to kind of fall into place, right? And the Temperance card is associated, it has connections to Sagittarius. It can be about also like emotional healing and like recalibrating and like figuring out what you need outside of the relationship. And I think a lot of this is also looking at things being like, I'm involved with somebody who clearly they're not in a place of balance. And so because they're not in a place of balance, I'm kind of feeding off of that, and that's impacting me. And so if you feel like you're not getting a lot of clarity, or you're not able to kind of figure out what the problem is with the other person, it's about reorienting the focus on yourself. And go listen to my November horoscopes. I talk about this for Sag rising specifically. I'm like, look, with this retrograde you're going to face, it's going to be about what's going on with you and the decisions you're making, and you getting clear about your path forward, about work, home, and then relationships. Everything starts with you. So don't base it off of other people, right? And also it's a good time for healing, emotional healing, spiritual healing, therapy, going and doing like rituals or things that are going to be about self-care, because this is about having a sense of clarity. And sometimes temperance talks about imbalances. It could mean that, you and a partner are out of sync, but it could also mean that there's an imbalance in the relationship, or that there is an imbalance that's going on for them emotionally, financially, right? Psychologically. Sometimes this is a card that also, it talks about like approaching situations in a sober, honest way, and just seeing it for what it is, and learning not to respond to things, acknowledging what's going on, and then being like, okay, if this is the way that things are going to go, then I need to kind of, recalibrate and focus on myself. This can also be talking about timing. So it's saying like this is like a timing matter. It may not necessarily be the wrong person. It's just both of you guys happen to be going through some pretty significant, transits timing wise, or, life effects timing wise, that's inhibiting you from feeling balanced in the partnership. The final card is the Star card. Okay. 2 majors, by the way. So this is about Sagittarius. This is about Aquarius. And it can be saying that things balance out, between the end of November and let's say like mid to the end of February, right? Over the next couple months. Thankfully, both of these cards imply healing, where Temperance is more about like letting certain situations balance out and like waiting for the right timing to kind of sync up for the relationship. The Star card is really talking about actual healing. It's like, okay, wish fulfillment, getting what you want, having some sort of like recognition of, what your dreams are. The Star card is generally a very positive card, because we see this card come up like after the Tower falls, right? After the Death card and all the other like heavy cards, the Star comes up and it's like, okay, now I can actually get what I wanted. I have this feeling that, knowing your astrology, but I have this feeling that because of all of the squares in your chart, it's almost like there's something that you really want, okay? And the 9 of Swords is like you're stressed out because you're like, oh my God, am I not going to get what I want, or is it not going to work out? And you really have to sit down and ask yourself, what is it that you want? I'm not talking about him. I'm saying, what do you want out of life? What do you want out of a relationship? What do you want out of your home situation? What do you want out of work? The more you focus on that, the easier it will be to accept as the dominoes potentially fall November, December, which they will. I won't candy coat this. And then again in the spring. In my opinion, having gone through the transits that you're going through right now, I've had the Saturn retrograde and Saturn transit in my 4th house, as it was squaring a Jupiter transit in my 7th house. I have also had the Venus retrograde. I've had the Mercury retrograde that has also squared Saturn, which is what you're about to have. Those were the transits that I decided, okay, I'm leaving a relationship. I'm done. I think I'm going to move. I'm going to make some changes. And then I ended up like meeting my husband. So it's like, in retrospect, when you're in it, you can't really see it. But when you're on the other side of it, you're like, well, of course I had to like have that shitty boyfriend. So I would say, yeah, I will accept that job and then relocate. And then you relocate and then you meet somebody who's like an amazing partner, right? And I'm not saying this to kind of like poo-poo on the relationship, but the cards want you to focus on what opportunities are being presented to you and how you can actually heal and fix things for yourself. And in doing so, you'll become more accepting of the fact that it may not be that it's the wrong person, it's the wrong time, or it may be that, you know, it is a great person, but you're ready and that person isn't. And it's giving you this opportunity to heal other aspects of your life and really move forward. Because I think what will come from some of these squares transits that you're having will ultimately end up being like most likely a much better job in living situation. And unfortunately, the sacrifice is Pisces. So the moving and the job is very Jupiter and like Mercury and all that stuff, squaring Saturn in the 7th. So you may actually sacrifice the relationship to bring those things in. I would still talk to him about it if that's something that you're thinking about doing, but the reading is much more focused on you, not what's going on with him. It's you. And if you are that stressed out about it, getting clear about what path you're getting on and the direction that you're going on with some of these decisions. So that way, if you need to make the necessary call when it comes to making a relationship change, you can, and you can do it in a much more kind of clear, level-headed way and be optimistic about the positive things that'll come, because likely you may be rewarded. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. Difficult transits. That is a difficult transit for all of the Sag and Sag risings. Everybody's like back and forth with a partner, or, you know, somebody's living somewhere else, or, you know, there's like a really heavy home or family thing you're dealing with. And then you're also trying to juggle a relationship, or you're like, oh, I have a new job, so I'm going to move. What about this person? Be very careful making sacrifices that could be for this relationship if you have some really good new opportunities, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, Alana. All right, Leica. We've got Leica, then Matt, then Jennifer. And you guys can scan that QR code. It's still open if you want to get in there. Leica says, 3 cards. You have my information from prior readings. All right, let's see if she has a particular question. I had requested a reading, but I did not put a question. I want to know what the cards say about romantic relationships. All right, you got it. 0 degrees Pisces, heavy placements in Sag, Gemini Sun, Venus in Cancer. So you're getting all the mutable squares too. All right, let's take a look. So Pisces rising, so you have lots of Sag then, so that's connected to your 10th house, and you've got your Sun connected to your 4th. All right, so let's see what we can tell Leica about relationships. And then Matt, you're next, so if you want to send your question, you can. All right, so in this order, lots of majors for you guys tonight. We've got the Page of Pentacles, we've got the Hermit card and the Death card coming up. Very interesting stuff. So, you know, I think about being a Pisces rising, and Virgo is connected to your descendant, right? So when I look at this, I'm like, you know, for the Hermit card to be coming up, it's saying that there is an opportunity for a relationship to be coming in. Page of Pentacles. So, you know, you could be dealing with an earth sign. If not, you know, if it's not a Taurus or a Virgo or a Capricorn, it can be talking about somebody who's coming in that is offering you something, right? Page of Pentacles for a relationship reading is not a bad card to pull. This is saying that it's planting a seed, a new opportunity, a new beginning, a chance connection, you know, meeting somebody who you see potential in. Being able to potentially start, you know, getting to know somebody, and that it could grow and develop into something that could be like long-term and commitment oriented. I do feel like this is about approaching relationships in a much more practical manner, right? I feel like with the ace, like the suit of Pentacles is very like, what am I investing in? You know, if it's a person, and if I'm investing time or energy or emotions or money, whatever, is there going to be a fair exchange? And it's about approaching relationships also in a way where you're looking for something that is going to be reliable, right? It's hard. Pentacles are solid. So it's like you're looking for something that's going to add value to your life. The Hermit card can talk about the descendant. So it can talk about your 7th house, where, as you know, because you're a Pisces rising, in the next 2 years, you're going to start seeing eclipses taking place in your 7th house. South node eclipses does not mean that you can't maintain a relationship. It means that if you go through a relationship in that like 2-year period, that there's just more focus on what's going on with you, right? North node going through Pisces. obviously it's going to square all your stuff. So it's going to square your sun, it's going to square your moon. So the 10th house and the 4th house are obviously changes revolving around your home and your family, as well as your career and your reputation. So it's a very unusual nodal transit, because not only is it going to be activating the angles, but it's going to square planets, and the sun and the moon happen to be, you know, two of the more sensitive kind of parts of the chart. Sun can be about masculine energy. It can be about your relationship to men. It can be also about your relationship to your past and like men in the family and how that's kind of impacted the way that you look at relationships. The square to the moon can be about your relationships to women and more of like a feminine energy and like who you are out in the world, like emotionally. So it can be about big home and status change. And to be honest with you, it's almost an easier transit to navigate if you're not in a committed relationship and if you're single. Because if you're in a committed relationship, the South Node transits go through there, the eclipses go through there, you're like, okay, my partner is kind of inconsistent, or there is a sense of being so self-focused that it's harder to kind of personally relate to people. But if you're going into it single, eclipses with the South Node in the 7th can mean like people from the past come back. And I don't necessarily mean in this lifetime. Sure, those people can, but karmic relationships, right? People who you just like fit together with, like puzzle pieces. People who seem very familiar, and it can be something that just like works. And you're going to be in a very karmic period when you're having a bunch of like retrogrades in the spring with Mercury and Venus in your ascendant sign. That can very much be about, I'm bringing somebody in, or now I'm ready to move forward in a relationship. So I'm wondering if this is saying like the intentions are being planted now, but you may not really start to see stuff change until closer to like, you know, the Virgo eclipses, which will be happening in the spring in March. Now it can be implying that there is a Virgo coming in, or there is an earth sign coming in. Obviously the Hermit card is about turning within, and it's about reflecting and kind of like asking yourself, what do I want in relationships, right? What am I seeking? And really it's about being what you're seeking. Okay, so becoming the partner that you're seeking. If you're in one, it could mean that you're starting to have realizations and like revelations about the fact that it's like, oh my God, this could be something that could be like, you know, permanent or like a long-term committed relationship. It's also about recognizing and realizing that you probably are needing to do more work there, because the Page of Pentacles is about like learning skills and things that we may not necessarily possess. So it's about learning more about investment of energy and emotions, learning about kind of staying and not fleeing, learning about, you know, how to kind of be more diplomatic and like work things out with people and not be too self-reliant, which can happen with Saturn and Neptune in your first house. Now, the final card is the Death card, which I'm not mad at. I actually feel like it's implying that it's pretty definitive, like a change is coming. How that change manifests, it's not good nor bad, okay? Death is neutral. It's like, look, a change is going to happen. It's coming. It can be implying that the change is actually happening during Scorpio season, because this is a card that deals with Scorpio. So when I think of a Pisces rising, and I think of, you know, like Mars going retrograde through your 5th house, that's like the best place to have that retrograde, because it means you've got several months of having an extended period of time of like being more invested in dating and romance and creativity and having fun. And, you know, like at least it's a good place to have a Mars retrograde, and you can get back into the swing of like having a romantic partner, and like you can have something that maybe you thought was like casual and like a fling manifest as something that's like, whoa, like this took me by surprise. And Mars will oppose Pluto. And both of these planets are associated with the Death card. So it's kind of saying like you're getting more so aware of what it is that you want, what do you need when it comes to love, what's going to make you happy. Take your time. But don't be surprised if it ends up being like a connection that you make sometime between, you know, like let's say, you know, November and mid-March, where it can be really profound. It can be life-changing. The Death card is saying something new is going to come, and we're putting an end to like the old ways of doing things. It could be putting an end to isolation, right? Or approaching relationships in a way that's kind of like more casual or more immature, and this evolution to, you know, becoming something that is going to be like more, you know, like long-term. I just also can't help but like laugh at the progression of these cards. You've got a Page, which is a child. You've got a Hermit card, which is an old man. And then you've got the Death card, which is a skeleton. So there is literally, it's talking about cycles. It's talking about cycles in your life, and like this evolution of going from more, like I said, casual, kind of immature, you know, perspectives of love and relationships, and then what you've been learning and you've been reflecting and spending time alone, and now you're kind of like, actually, wait, I can make a change, and I think a change would actually be good for me. And it's scary, but I think it can be something that can be really beneficial for you. Confirmation card that you get is the Queen of Coins, which means you're growing up. Notice this progression from a page to a queen. So you're recognizing and realizing maybe that your values are changing. Maybe there's a sense of like, man, I am getting older, and like maybe I want different things, or I'm looking for different things. Maybe there's this sense of like really recognizing like your own personal value and what you bring to the table. And there's the sense of learning not to sell yourself short. And certainly a Mars retrograde in the 5th house can be a time where you're like learning to like love and appreciate yourself more. And the more that you're doing that, the more that that's going to kind of radiate, and other people are going to see that, right? Anyway, just some food for thought. Hopefully that's helpful for you and giving you some insight. What's up, Dante? Thank you. I'll give you guys an update in just a minute. We'll leave the queue open for like another 10 minutes. Okay, so I've got Matt, Jennifer, and then Astrid. So you guys are all in the queue. Matt, let me check this again and see, because sometimes your guys' questions don't show, so I apologize. Come on. Yeah. PayPal's being a bit fickle today. It's not wanting to show me your question. Come on. Thank you. Okay, so you're going to be having an appointment. Go to Astrology, the main reason why you're going. Last year they thought there was protein in urine and sent it off to further testing. Everything ended up being fine. But I still always get nervous with appointments. I'm curious to see what's in the cards for the samples, for the kidneys on that date, and if there's anything your guys want you to be worried about. Okay, how will the appointment go? Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm sorry. If that would have come up, I would have been able to read it. So let's take a look at what we need to know about this appointment. And that was the astrology that we looked at, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So let's take a look. How will the appointment go? What do we need to know? Is there anything to be concerned about in terms of the test and its findings? Oh, well, that one just came right with it, didn't it? All right, so in this order, so you have got the 8 of Swords, the Page of Wands, and the Fool card. I just look at the end of this particular spread, and I'm like, you're going to walk out of there and be like, woo, like relieved, you know, or, you know, you're going to be feeling like free of like a situation that's probably been kind of like weighing pretty heavily on you. You know, 8 of Swords is a card that is about feeling confined, limited, constricted, can be about being in your head, you know, like basically that particular card talks about being in a situation where you feel like you can't see your way out. And that you can be like stuck in this like mental mind game of it's been this way, it's always going to be this way, I'm never going to be able to overcome this, it's just going to keep happening, you know, and it's a reminder that's like you don't have to stay there. Right? You don't have to stay there. You don't have to be in that state of mind. And it is in the past. So it's saying that's how things have gone in the past. It also feels like very limiting, I would imagine, right? I'm not a doctor, but I would be like, you know, like people throwing information at you being like, you know, these levels are off, or they're telling you certain things about your test results and what's being found in your body. And you're like, I don't know what any of this means. I don't understand it. Like what, you know, like what can this do? And then like, there's like this spiral, right? So that's where you've been. Page of Wands is talking about the right now. So this is about approaching the situation with optimism, going in and having a let's figure it all out attitude, like wanting to get complete clarity, not from a space of worry or concern, but being like, you know, I am happy to be here. I want to be here. I want to be able to ensure that everything's fine. I'm being proactive. And you want to remind yourself that as well. Like it's better to know than to not know. And in this situation, you're almost like, I would almost rather not know, versus the Page of Wands, which is like jumping into the situation enthusiastically and being like, yes, I'll answer all the questions, I'll do all the tests, whatever I have to do, I'm there. And also really seeing it from a space of being like, yeah, I'm going to get good results, you know, or I'm going to get good answers, or I'm going to end up feeling, you know, better or lighter about the situation. Pages are younger, youthful energy. And so when this is coming up, for me, it's always like, oh, vitality, right? It's like, you know, I'm fine. I'm young. Like, you're going to find that, you know, maybe some of your levels are going to kind of balance out a little bit, and you're going to be feeling a little bit better once they tell you what's going on. I also think that this is about like the changes that maybe have been made since last year. You know, this is a guy with a walking stick. He's running around. He's out in the sun. I wonder, like, have you made lifestyle changes? Have you made dietary changes? Have you been working out more? Have you been taking supplements? Like, something about this card tells me that you've been very proactive in all regards since the last time you had, you know, some of these tests and you were like all freaked out. And so at least that's working in your favor. I think that in itself is going to be a testament to the results that you're going to get, and the fact that you've been a little bit better about, you know, kind of prioritizing taking care of your health and being active. Final card is the Fool card. So like I said, like, things really brighten up. Like, the sun really does like come out as you get to the last card, and it's like, okay, there's clarity. I'm free of the situation. The Fool card always reminds me, have you guys seen that picture of Nicole Kidman when she got a divorce from Tom Cruise? And she like walks out of the divorce attorney's office and she's like doing this and her hands are in the air and she's like dancing in the parking lot and she's like, I'm free. That's how this feels to me for you for some reason. It's like, you know, like freedom, like, okay, I can, you know, walk away from this, and like, I'm finally like not looking back, or it's not something that's going to like weigh heavily on me. And being a lot more, you know, optimistic moving forward and not really worrying so much about what the future may hold. Obviously, you know that I know that you're an Aries rising, and a lot of this is going to be obviously about maybe some of like the retrograde stuff that's been coming up. Obviously, you know, recently had a retrograde that was happening in your 6th house, which may have prompted some of this stuff. You're going to watch or want to watch what's going on with some of the retrogrades. Especially as we're getting into like November going into December. But I think that's more scheduling changes, maybe travel stuff. It could be things revolving around, you know, your learning or anything in regards to training. I don't think it's going to be so much health related. But keep an eye on what's going on with, you know, transits to your natal Mercury, obviously, because I know there's some stuff that's either going on around your Mercury or your Sun from what I remember. But with that being said, I do see the situation being positive. I don't know if you're going to get immediate results. Like, I feel like this could be something where you will get it at a later date. But once you do get it, you're like, okay, I'm free of the situation. I'm good. And like, there's some reason to kind of celebrate. And yeah, you're feeling good about kind of moving forward in regards to your health stuff. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Lots of good health juju. Just to update my list really quick. I have, let's see, Melody, David, Lori, Pauline, Tiana, and Dante. So if you hear your name, you're on my list. And we're going to close readings pretty soon. So if you guys want to get in there, get in there. All right, so let's keep moving through my list. We have got Jennifer, Astrid, and who was Lightworker? Maybe you guys already told me, but... All right, so let's see what Jennifer said. I think Jennifer, let's see. Is Jennifer in the chat? Because your question is not coming up in the memo. Sorry, guys. Some of the questions, some of the memos aren't showing. So you guys either didn't put them or it's not working. But for Jennifer, for Lightworker, for Lula, for Lori, Pauline, Tiana, Chandra, I don't have any of your guys' questions. So you guys are going to have to send them in when I'm calling your name. So is Jennifer here? See if I can try to reload this page, but for some reason a lot of them aren't working. So weird. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. That's really bizarre. Let me see if I can pull it up on another browser, but that's really unusual for those not to be showing. So if you did not send your question, please send it in the chat, because I can't tell if people just sent them or what. Yeah, it might be something going on with like PayPal, to be honest with you, because like now PayPal is all acting like super weird. Let's see. So anybody who hasn't sent that, please do. Yeah, it's definitely connected to PayPal, that's for sure. Let's see, let me try it on Safari. Oh, that's great to hear, Victoria. Congratulations. I know you were talking about that the last time and you were all over that case. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, I guess it worked on a different browser. All right, so I've got Jennifer. 2 questions plus a tip. All right, so we've got Taylor Small. Will the commercial real estate property close by December 31st, 2024? And then the other question was, will I meet a romantic partner in the next year? This is for Taylor. Sorry, some of your guys' stuff is not showing, unfortunately. So let's take a look. What we can tell Taylor. 1, 2, 3. All right, in this order, similar cards coming up. So this is specifically for, will the commercial real estate property close by December 31st? Honestly, it's looking like there's a little stress as to whether or not it's going to be possible. The 9 of Swords makes me feel like it's kind of getting down to the wire as to whether or not there is going to be some clarity on the actual closing date. To me, it also looks like stress over situations that, you know, are out of your control, and it's about really trying to manage that stress and not putting yourself in a position where you're, you know, losing sleep over it. Ultimately, I feel like with the Strength card and the 2 of Wands coming up, that it is going to happen. The date, though, makes me kind of wonder, you know, like Strength coming up is saying you can do everything possible to try to ensure that that does happen. It does look like there's going to be opportunities that are going to present themselves to help you kind of like further this along. Like, obviously you can only do so much, but the Strength card is like saying like, okay, this is where we're at. This is a situation. We're trying to get this closed. You're going to be patient. You're going to be understanding of other people, and that there could be some pressure that's involved with meeting this deadline, and that it's out of your hands. 2 of Wands coming up is saying that the door is opening, and it does look like there is going to be a potential opportunity to do that. 2s are coming up, okay, so dates that deal with 2s, so it could mean that it's like the 2nd, the 22nd, the 25th, the 26th. Obviously that's Christmas, but things that deal with 2, and that the door is opening for you to be able to do that. Final card is the Hermit card. So I'm kind of thinking like, you know, in your heart of hearts, you know that this might be cutting it a little close. It may be within like several days or within up to 2 weeks, because the Wands are generally weeks of your deadline. And so I'm assuming The deadline is at the end of the year because it has something either to do with the calendar year, or it has to do with business, or it has to do with taxes, right? So there's something kind of connected there. But I do see it closing, but I feel like it's very, very, very tight on the timing, and it may not be exactly when you want to do it, but you're going to have an opportunity to be like, okay, how can we get ahead of this and like try to problem solve, or see if there's a way to be able to fast track this, or like actual negotiations, so that way we can meet it. Like a lot of the Two of Wands is about talking to people and being like, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. You know, is it possible? Opening up the lines of communication, going back and forth with somebody and being like, this is where we need to be. So do you see us being able to meet this deadline? A lot of it's going to come down to like what you're projecting and being able to kind of connect with other people and telling them this is what you're hoping to do. Also, the Strength card is about like not strong-arming the situation, being like, this is the deadline, you have to meet it. Being like, hey, you know, just wanted to make sure, like, are we a go? Okay, great. Can we get the process rolling? Like, are you guys ready to sign? Like, you know, can we do this? And doing it in a way that's going to be kind of like coaxing, but not like kind of like agitating people or rushing people. You know, it's like, we're really excited to move forward with things. Like, are you excited? Okay, great. So how's it going? Have you gotten the paperwork? Like that kind of stuff. And doing that is actually going to help expedite and kind of speed the process along a little bit faster. But you want to be getting ahead of the curve with that now, like literally right now. So that way you can potentially, you know, keep from that happening, right? But I do see it closing. Two of Wands is kind of like, yes, it's possible we're going to get what we want, but it's going to get, I think, really down to the wire. And unfortunately, you know, Christmas Eve, that's right when Saturn is squaring Jupiter. So there's going to be something that's going to be happening where it's like, you know, for a lot of people, they're wanting to kind of expedite something or have something grow or have some positive news. And the square to Saturn is like, actually, there's a delay. And literally, Jupiter in a Gemini sign is, well, they changed their mind, you know, they took another offer, they went with another property, they are still thinking about the documents, they didn't sign one of the documents. Like, these are the things that you will hear at the end of December. So knowing that that's coming in advance, you want to be getting things in a row, so that way you're not like waiting down to the wire for some of these things to happen. And end of November is like one heck of a Mercury retrograde. Not that we can't get stuff done, but it's definitely going to be really challenging because of some of the squares. And I think we can use it to our advantage to be like, okay, we're going to do some check-ins. We're going to see what is necessary and how we can kind of start getting things in order and like discussing timelines, so that we're not getting down to like crunch time, right? All right, so let's look at your other question, which was, will I meet a romantic partner in the next year? All right, so let's see what we can tell Taylor about finding a partner. So if you guys want to get a reading, you can scan the QR code, get in there before the queue closes. So what's going on with the romantic partner in the next year? In this order. Ooh. What's going on? Are you considering moving, relocating? Are you traveling? We've got like two pretty significant movement cards. Okay, so it can be talking about there's movement in this area. For me, a guarantee of yes, a new relationship is coming would be like an ace, or it would be, you know, maybe 2 of cups, maybe 10 of cups, things like that. So you got an ace coming. And so it is kind of talking about like fire months. Specifically, this can be more so associated with like the summertime, but you know, the fire months will be when we're in Aries season, when we're in Leo season, when we're in Sag season. So it is looking like the turn of the new year, the real new year in the spring, is likely when you're going to start to see some kind of activation and things kind of playing out. 3 of Wands is going past the I'm making a decision, I'm going back and forth. It's I am out there, I'm actively looking. So it's kind of saying like you're on the hunt, like you're looking to meet someone. And 3 of Wands can be talking about traveling, going on adventures, going to places that you wouldn't typically kind of venture to, having new experiences, being a little bit more active and going places where you know that there are going to be people who are single and looking to kind of mingle. And I really feel like this is about like being open-minded. Like the 3 of Wands is like, okay, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to go and do things that I wouldn't typically do. And the Wands are always about like creativity or fitness or action or speed. So I would be like speed dating, you know, joining like a fitness group, going hiking, literally, look, that's what he's doing. you know, traveling and trying to meet people while you're, you know, kind of in nearby kind of areas. These are going to open the door and make it possible for you to meet people. The reason why I asked about traveling as well is because then you got the Seven of Swords coming up, or the Six of Swords, excuse me. So this can be talking about literally sometimes it's like traveling overseas. Other times it could be possible for, you know, you to be moving on, you know, or moving or relocating or moving to a, you know, a different phase in your life where you're like, you know what, I'm just seeking something kind of mellow. I want to feel it out. I want to see if it's going to be like a good mix. I also feel like this can be about you embracing this change and being like, you know what, you know, maybe the changes is that you're wanting something that's going to be a little bit more fun and lively. And I'm not saying casual, but a shift in your relationships where you're going in a direction where you feel like there's going to be a lot more romance, fulfillment, adventure, excitement, right? Three of Wands, Ace of Wands stuff. I also feel like it is possible that if you're doing anything right around water, okay, it could be like beaches, it could be coasts, it could be lakes, it could be any activity, things like that, even like boating. That might be something else that you want to look for because you may end up meeting somebody in that way. And then the Ace of Wands does talk about a new beginning coming in. And like the reason why I was saying like having fun, adventure, passion, you know, like creativity is because that's what the Ace of Wands is. Like the Ace of Cups, which would be a relationship card as well, is more sensitive, soft, emotional, kind of like lovey-dovey. This is like, I want to meet somebody, I want to have fun, I want to travel with them, I want to go places, I want to go dancing, I want to go to, you know, live events. I want to be out where the people are. So the Ace of Wands is saying like, look, it's striking a match and it's making it possible for you to be able to meet someone. It can be indicating that you might meet a fire sign. It can also indicate that, like I said, it could be happening like right around the spring of next year. Keep an eye out maybe for like right around like March, April, okay? Because that's usually when I see this card come up. And it could be, like I said, an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius, but there's definitely something coming and it looks like it would start very quickly. It's not going to be like a slow burn. It's like you meet somebody and then you're out and you're doing things and you're like, whoa, this is like a very different dynamic for me. And it's really kind of getting me out of my comfort zone. But I do genuinely think that you're going to end up meeting somebody. You might just be venturing outside of your usual kind of hangouts or just getting out if that's not something that you've been used to doing, because this kind of makes me feel like you're going to meet somebody out in the wild. It's not like you're going to be potentially meeting somebody online unless you're engaging with a group or a community of people who have intention to meet in person, right? So hopefully that is helpful for you, Taylor. Thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. What's up, me? Welcome to the first one. Let's see, who else do we have here? All right, how many people are in line? Quite a few. Let's see, who else do we have? So that was Taylor. So we have Astrid, and then we have Lightworker. And readings are now going to close. So if you guys haven't gotten in, now's the time, and we're going to close it down. All right, so let's see what Astrid has to say. Then we've got Lightworker, we've got Vanessa, Lula, you're going to be after. What's up, Astrid? Astrid says, hey Candace, I hope you're doing well. What guidance do the cards have for me with the recent changes that I've been noticing, and how can I prepare for what's unfolding over the next few months? Let's see, what else does that say? Gemini Sun, Libra Moon, Leo Rising. All right, well, let's take a look what we can tell you. Who am I? What is your first name on PayPal so I know who to look for? But I have everybody so far that I've called. I haven't skipped anybody. Dave. Yeah, you're there. You're down the line, but you're there. All right, so what can we tell Astrid about some of these changes that she's noticing? 1, 2, 3. And how can she prepare for what is unfolding? All right, so I'm curious what the changes are, because I'm looking at the Death card and the Page of Pentacles. There's a couple different ways that I could interpret that. One could mean that there is a dramatic transformation that's going on within yourself. and you're like reinvesting in yourself, or you're making lots of physical changes to your body, or there are physical changes going on with your body. Sometimes when I see the Death card in the Page of Pentacles, it's like where somebody's like, I'm realizing that my values are changing, and what I'm investing myself in, my energy in, what I'm investing, you know, my money in is changing. That could be something that's going on. Two of Pentacles makes me feel like you're kind of like a little all over the place. You're kind of like, should I be doing this? Should I not? Is this a good change? Is this not a good change? And like, I can only imagine being a Leo rising, having had a Mercury retrograde, now you're going to have Mars retrograde, that there can be this sense of being like, I'm in transition, right? So that can be kind of going on. But Two of Coins is weighing your options, reevaluating, you know, is this a good change for me? Like, is this really the direction I want to go in? And it could be something as like trivial as like changing your appearance, or changing, you know, your hair, or changing something about your style. But it could be something as significant as like, you know, am I going to go through this total transformation physically? Am I going to chop all my hair off? You know, am I no longer associating with, you know, this particular kind of part of my identity? And it does make me feel like there is an investment here. Okay. Two coins are coming up. So it's going to be time, energy, money. It can also be revolving around your physical assets, your wealth. And the Death card is basically saying that inevitably there's going to be a change. Like, that's coming. So we take it a step further, and, you know, I think about being a Leo rising and like Pluto's connection, the Pluto transit's connection to your 6th house. So it can mean that you're going through major changes with your habits, your health, your daily routine, changes in regards to the kind of work you're doing, changes in regards also to, you know, your habits. There could be some bad habits and things that you're wanting to kind of address, and all of that opposition to Mars in the 12th. The other way I could look at this is like, oh, are you going to be making some significant or dramatic shift that's kind of going on emotionally or psychologically that has an impact on your physical body? At the end of the day, the Page of Pentacles is the final card, is saying like, look, you're planting new seeds for something new that's going to be growing, something new that's going to be developing. Whether it's a new image, it's a new identity, if you're going to feel like healthier or more so grounded. I think it's worth taking the risk and making some of these changes. And I also feel like so much about the Two of Coins is like that indecisiveness. Do I do this? Do I not do this? And then the Death card's like, no, we're not going to give you a choice. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to feel like this over the next couple months. It's going to be like, there is such a pressing issue in this area of my life that if I don't make this change, then like I'm going to have a problem in the other area. And it's a lot about like oppositions are kind of counterbalancing things. So I wonder if it's more your 12th house, 6th house, if it's your emotions and your health habits, or if it's going to be more about your 1st and your 7th, which Mars and Pluto will oppose as well, which can be more connecting to like, who am I outside of my relationship with other people? And there can be a bit of a back and forth that you're experiencing with a relationship, with a romantic partner, with a friend. You know, it could even be with a family member, because Pluto's connected to your 4th house. But some of what's coming up in your spread is very much about making a dramatic, definite change. And knowing that some of the decisions that you make and what's unfolding, that you're like, there's no going back after I've made this decision, or after I've gone through this transition. Like, your life will change permanently. Likely, I think, for the better. And I'm wondering what it is. You don't have to say, but I'm wondering what it is. Because sometimes when I pull these two cards together, this is when somebody's like, oh, I've really been thinking about like, you know, like making this investment, or I've really been thinking about like making this major alteration to my body. Or sometimes this is when people get pregnant. With the Death card and the Page of Pentacles, that's like, oh my God, you know, this is coming up and it's going to change everything. Like, is this going to be a good change? And I would say, regardless of what it is that you're changing, it's about committing to the fact that the change is happening and that it actually can be positive. And in the long run, you're going to be glad that you did it, because you're going to feel like it brought you something of substance. It helped you get more so grounded and feel a little bit healthier, happier, and also more abundant. Okay. Hope that's helpful for you, Astrid. Readings are now closed. We've got Lightworker, Vanessa, and then Lula. So let's check this out. Thank you guys for your patience. I appreciate it. Come on, PayPal, you can do it. Now I'm not getting any PayPal. What's going on? I'm so over this website. It's like such a little stinker right when I need it. There we go. All right. Try this again. All right, so we have got Lightworker and then Vanessa. So hopefully this loads because it has not been loading. And whoever Lightworker is, if you want to send your question, it would be really helpful because I can't see it. It's not loading for some reason. So Lightworker, I can see Vanessa's for Lula and Trisha. If you guys could send those, it would be really helpful so I can see it because PayPal's being a punk. I apologize. Sometimes it does this and it gets kind of buggy. Are there any of those people here? Anybody? Lightworker, LLC, are you here? Lula, Miss Martin, any of you guys, if you can send it in the chat, that would be super helpful. That way I'm not making you guys wait. And send me your first name so I know who is who, please. Because your guys' names on PayPal are sometimes different from your name on YouTube. Thank you. Okay, I got yours. Yours is going to be a little while. Is it Cheyenne? You're way down my list. So I need, who's Lightworker Enterprise? Anybody? Okay, I'll come back to that then. So Lightworker, if you are here, please check in with me because I can't see your question, unfortunately. I don't know why, but I keep trying to access it and it's not happening. So I will take Lula. Says, hello, I'm a 24 degrees Taurus rising. I'd like to know if me and my work crush will start dating this month. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you. So is there opportunity for them to start dating their work crush this month? What do the cards think about that? King of Wands. I kind of feel like this is about like approaching the situation and kind of like being like, what's up? I don't know what sign they are. So you're a Taurus rising, but do you have any fire in your chart? King of Wands can also talk about like that person being super like receptive and being like, yes, I'm into it, you know, or like something sparking up very quickly. There can be this sense of like taking charge of the situation and like being very confident with this person, interacting with them and being like, hey, let's do something. Like King of Wands to me can sometimes feel like in a fun kind of flirty way that there is like a sense of like them being kind of demanding, but they're not doing it in a demanding way. They're just being kind of flirty. That's like, hey, we should go and, you know, get something, you know, to eat, or we should go and get a drink, or we should hang out, like, and putting it out there that way because a lot of it's about like confidence, you know? But I do feel like the King of Wands is a card that's about feeling receptive of doing something together, but then also there can be this sense of then like letting the other person lead. So approaching this situation with confidence, opening the door, being like, hey, we should do something, and taking charge of the situation, and then seeing what they do with it. Putting the ball in their court, and then being like, okay, cool, that I want to hang out. Let's kind of go from there and see what they do. Confirmation card that you get is the Seven of Cups, which means this person may not completely recognize or realize that there's like interest there. So obviously the King of Wands is somebody who has to be a little bit more forward with you in regards to like what they're feeling, or like, you're gonna have to kind of put it out there and then be like, oh, okay, like let them sit with it and think about it for a little bit, and then you'll see the response. But yeah, I don't think that they're completely aware that there's interest, I guess. Seven of Cups can be talking about kind of confusion and being like, oh, I didn't really get that. I didn't understand. I didn't assume that you were interested in that way. So you might be making it a little bit more clear with the King of Wands. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Still waiting for light worker. I've got Vanessa. What's up, Vanessa? She says, hi, this question is for my sister. Can you give us a very raw insight on why she has no movement with her custody case? 1 year later, things are worse than ever. Why is this happening to her? And what can you see suggest for reunification? Thank you as always. You're welcome. I will let you guys know the list of people in a minute, but if I already called your name, you're still in line. All right, so what can we tell Vanessa about the situation with her sister's case? There's no movement. What do we need to be aware of? Interesting card. So I'll tell you the confirmation card in a second, but Two of Swords. To me, this feels like you might look into like doing an uncrossing candle or like an uncrossing bath, like that situations may actually be blocked. Literally the Two of Swords is like crossed conditions, like kind of being in a situation where you can't go left and you can't go right, you're stuck. And also the stress and the anxiety of the situation and not being able to see your way through it. And feeling like you're being mentally blocked, that there is drag of communication, there's issues, but that some of these problems can be perpetuated because of the state of mind. Two of Swords is kind of like, I could do this or I could do that. Like, should I do this? Should I do that? Like, it almost to me feels like it's stuck and it's suspended from being able to make a committed decision. And that's also inhibiting you from being able to move forward. Getting mentally clear, like, doing a clarity, bath or a cleansing bath, and doing like an uncrossing bath or an uncrossing candle, because the situations seem to be so cross, and that mentally and emotionally you guys are so fried, and she's so frazzled that she's just like, I can't see my way out of this. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, this isn't working. And like that will continue to perpetuate things. Also, Two of Swords, I think about with like the blindfold, that there is like, it's talking about crossed conditions and situations and imbalances within like the court or judicial system. That there are delays that are going on because there are other things that are pending, and then it's taking even longer to be able to get into court. It's taking even longer to get decisions. It's taking even longer to get court evaluations and custody hearings and anything like that, because there are things that are literally backed up. Other people are, in the process of going through their stuff, which is kind of limiting your ability to kind of gain clarity as to when you're going to be able to be seen and you're going to have the opportunity to get some insight about where things are going. But a lot of it's mental. And so when there's the shift from the frame of mind from panic, static, this isn't working, everything's kind of falling apart, to, things are progressing forward very quickly. I'm gaining clarity. I have a court case. Like, things are actually opening up. There's better communication, and thinking that way and like literally including that into some of your daily thoughts is going to start to open things up. The confirmation card that I got, because that's a very indecisive card, was the bottom of the deck, and that is the Nine of Coins. So this is also saying, like, in this situation, the Nine of Coins is talking about like having some sort of independence or having some like reason to feel good about moving forward, being able to finally get what you've been hoping to achieve after a long period of time, right? This can be talking about like, 9 weeks, 9 months, the 9th month. I'm not saying it's going to take that much longer. But it makes me feel like, money can also be part of it. The Nine of Coins can mean like you get what you pay for. So in a situation like this, it could mean that you're reevaluating or making decisions revolving around your representation, and whether or not you're considering investing a little bit more money or resources into your legal situation, that it may yield better results. If you do that, the Nine of Coins is somebody who might be a more costly attorney or lawyer, or you're having to pay to kind of file things, which could be more costly, but also it could be something that can kind of set you up better in the long run. And this is generally a very positive card. This is about getting what you want and feeling like you have some control. And she might be looking at the situation being like, some of the stuff I've been paying for, or, who I've hired, or like what I have been, doing so far has not really worked out for me. And you might be reevaluating who you're going to be working with or whose advice you're taking, right? Because it is having an impact ultimately on the delay of getting the results that you're looking for. But this is completely opposite, from the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords is just crossing confusing conditions. So when you ask about, like, is there a particular person that's blocking her or impacting her or affecting her, I don't really see it as being a particular person. I feel like she's being blinded by the situation, or that there is some sense of her being so overwhelmed or feeling like very confused. And you're saying her attorney is dragging her feet. I mean, Two of Swords can be that there are two conditions that are crossing her, two separate situations, two separate people, and that there's crossed energies, that you have, one person who wants to move forward and the other person who's taking forever. If that's how she's feeling, Nine of Coins says that it may be something worth looking into, considering changing representation, even though it might cost more and it might be a bit of a pain. That if you're not getting clarity and if you're not really feeling like, the person who's helping you is like making any headway, then she may be considering changing who she's working with altogether, and at least seeing to it that she's getting, the opportunity to connect with people who have a verifiable, history of being able to actually like win cases. Like the Nine of Coins could be seen as like a woman who's like a power attorney. Yeah, she might cost more, but she's going to be able to kind of back up her actual her cases with proven results of similar cases that maybe she's handled in the past, right? And also a rebuilding of self and feeling more confident and feeling like you're more capable, and like kind of not just getting your groove back, but being like, yes, now I have something physical and tangible that I can fall back on. It could be that there is some kind of decision that is made, or maybe she does decide to change attorneys and she pays for someone else, and you're like, okay, I better get good results. And then she's able to walk away feeling like she's got a little bit more independence or say in regards to what's going on with like the custody agreement. Okay. Definitely look into uncrossing work. I think that will help in a very big way. Let's see. I'm still waiting for Lightworker Enterprises. So if you are here, please let me know. And then we've got Tricia. I need your question if you're here in the chat. Let me see if I can get it to load, but I apologize, guys. It's not loading on my end for some reason. I don't know why. She paid her attorney last November. And it's been a year. Yeah, if you're in the queue, please send your question, because a lot of them are not showing on my part for some reason, which is very difficult. Come on, PayPal, get your shit together. It always does this during the lives. It drives me crazy. All right. Tracy and Martin, are you here? I can't see your question, so I am hoping that you hear this and you will let me know your question. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to answer it, or you're going to get a general reading. So I'm waiting on Lightworker and you. Thank you, Tiana. I see you. All right, so we have got Misty, and Misty says, I will listen later. I am 10/23/73, so happy belated. I met a man born 11/7/87. He seems really interested, but also married, as am I. I wasn't looking to meet anyone and would have been thinking to move where I am vacationing and a divorce. Is this new person for me in the future, or is this the universe showing me the potential if I move forward with a divorce? Okay, so you weren't looking for anyone. You've been thinking about moving to where you're vacationing and filing for divorce, and you met another married Scorpio. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see. Those 87 Scorpios, they got a lot of Sag in them too. So let's see what we can tell Misty about this man that she met. Is there potentially something in the future? I mean, you know, Six of Cups, that is a card that's about like reconnecting, coming together. It can be like tethered souls, you know, if you believe in that stuff. Like that is the card that deals with soulmates and like people who will come around or come in to remind you of something, right? To remind you of something. So there's something here that makes me feel like they're coming around because there is some kind of agreement or like purpose for them to like remind you of like what you could have or what is possible for you, right? And this is also, I mean, Six of Cups is something a little sweet. It is a little bit more innocent. Like this does make me feel like it's not like this like full blown like, you know, sexual like affair like energy. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm meeting somebody who's really interesting and like there's a connection there and I don't know, but like we're both kind of like on the same page and also like we're both going through like similar situations. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so Six of Cups makes me feel like that person's going to keep coming around. Four of Cups is the right now, which means like remove the guy from the situation. Four of Cups right now is kind of you going, I'm not really satisfied with a lot of things. I'm not satisfied with my current relationship, not satisfied with where I'm living, you know, been thinking about making a change. And there can be this sense that you have been so focused on like what isn't working that the universe literally sent somebody, Ace of Cups, to be like, hey, this is what you could have, right? So I do feel like that is really saying that it's trying to get you to focus more on where you're going and what is going to make you happy and like what is possible outside of your, you know, current relationship, your current job, your current living situation. It's trying to show you that you can have something else. I'm not saying it has to be him per se, but it does want you to recognize and realize that rather than focusing on or harboring on like negativity, it's almost like trying to incentivize you, right? It's like the universe kind of like dangling a carrot. That's how I see it. To get your attention, make you realize there could be something else. Now, obviously, if you're married, they're married. There's some complications there, but I do feel like it is kind of waking you up and making you realize that you don't have to kind of stay with where you've been. Wheel of Fortune. That's a positive card. I don't really feel like there's very many like tarot readers out there that would say that this is a bad omen or a bad card. Because the Wheel of Fortune is saying the universe is intervening. It is doing something intentionally because it is trying to kind of get you going in the right direction. You never know what you're going to get with the Wheel of Fortune. So there's no guarantees. So if you're asking me like, you know, is there potential here with this guy? Yeah, there's potential. Six of Cups, there's potential. But I think also I would just be aware that you're not really happy. And if you're not happy, it could be really easy. Anything that comes in that you have like a kind of like a connection with could be like, oh, I'll go there, you know? But the Wheel of Fortune is coming up saying, no, this is an opportunity where if you wanted to say, hey, I'm not happy. This person has made me realize that I'm really open to kind of leaving my relationship and like starting new somewhere. This is the opportunity that's being given to you. If you're leaving the relationship, you're not leaving the relationship for him. You would be leaving the relationship because he made you realize there is a big world out there and I'm not happy and I can meet somebody and I can start over and like there are people out there that I'll connect with again. The Wheel of Fortune also makes me feel like I said, there is no guarantees. This is about risk and, you know, also potential for big reward. For the confirmation card that I got for you with the Knight of Cups, it is saying, look, very likely this person would be very open to a relationship, right? Knight of Cups is like knight in shining armor. You know, this is a Scorpio. It is about romance and connection, and it is about really kind of being in the moment, and it can be like very emotional and like very passionate. But the one thing that I would say about the Six of Cups and the Four of Cups, just to keep in the back of your mind, is like I could see this as somebody who keeps coming around and they keep kind of like reconnecting with you. And you could be feeling at some point unfulfilled because you're like, Am I really about to leave my husband and like end my marriage and like divorce and move somewhere else? And, you know, is it all riding on this other person? And like, I'm waiting for him to do the same thing and like meet me halfway. Like, you don't want to do that. Okay. I don't think we need tarot cards to tell you that, but in this case, you don't want to do that, because it's saying there can be some disappointment because you were like, I thought it was going to be something and he was going to give me something, or we were going to be together. You know, it's like saying, no, he's coming in to show you, like, if you're not happy, you can make these changes. But I do see him being open to a relationship. I do. The Wheel of Fortune and the Knight of Cups is basically saying, like, it would be taking a chance to taking a risk, but you want to make sure that if you are doing this, you're doing this for the right reasons, that you're actually going, I'm walking away because this is what I want to do, not because I'm anticipating or assuming or hoping that somebody else that I'm going back and forth with is actually going to follow through and do the same thing as me, right? Because Knight of Cups is more about the passion, the romance, you know, the togetherness, and you can get swept up on this. If it was like, you know, King of Coins, or if it was, you know, Knight of Coins, you know, I'd be like, okay, I think he's actually, you guys are on the same path, but he's more about the emotional connection. He's more about the emotional connection. And all Scorpios with this upcoming you know, full moon that we're going to have in Taurus pretty soon. It's going to be a big one, right? And it looks like you actually have 29-degree Libra sun. So you're right on the cusp. So you have Pluto squaring your sun right now. And then you've got also Mars that's opposing Pluto squaring your sun. So you're really feeling like you're in the hot seat to make big changes about your status and also your career, and or your home and living situation. Just knowing that you've got that aspect that's kind of going on, it does make me feel like there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to be happening over like the next couple of months. And I would say don't base anything off of a relationship. You're going to see a lot more relationship stuff change. That's going to be in the spring. And if it's time for you to go, then he is the person who came in to kind of incentivize you to do that. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you, Miss Martin. I appreciate it. All right, so she says, reading, 3 card. I have a house in Mexico, career, what's next? Love, I'm married, feel strong in my relationship. How's it looking? He's a Pisces. All right. So 3 card reading about a house in Mexico and what might be coming up for your career. So I'll do 1 card for each. So we'll do 1 on the house, 1 on the career, and what you need to know for love. So this is going to be for the house. This is going to be for the career. And this is going to be for the relationship. Is the 4 of Cups really going to be the card of the evening? House, career, relationship. 2 of Cups makes me feel like there's an opportunity or an offer to either connect or collaborate when it comes to a home in a new space or an existing space. And whether this is like an exchange or a purchase or selling something or buying something from someone, collaborating and working on a home together, sharing that space with another person. The 2 of Cups does talk about like some kind of union and coming together and like some kind of agreement that's being made. And enjoying that, right? So if you're like, I really am thinking about, getting a home here, I would say, yeah, it looks like your partner's going to agree, or it looks like you're going to come to an agreement, or it looks like you're going to make an agreement, decide to make a decision about a purchase or a sale, and it looks like that would likely go well, and that it would be very emotionally fulfilling. Career-wise, with the 3 of Coins coming up, the 8 of Coins coming up, this is saying like working hard, being productive, seeing a lot of success, putting in the long hours, perfecting something, right? The 8 of Coins is like really working hard to complete a project, to get a raise, to get recognition, to be able to get a higher status, and also like really taking pride in what you're doing, and that it can be something that you're working on right now that can end up having like some really significant long-term physical, and financial results that can be coming within 8 weeks, 8 months time. This also makes me feel like that there is a goal behind this. Like you're not just working for, the sake of working. You're like, I'm working hard to get to this point, or to get to this point in my career, or until I am going to be retiring. It can also be about really focusing on getting a lot of work in, so that way you feel like you have time to do other things later in the year. So you might be like, okay, I'm trying to get overtime, or I'm trying to get extra pay, or I'm trying to pick up shifts, or, you know, whatever, because you're like, I really want to be able to bring in as much as possible because I have a goal that I'm trying to achieve. And that can be financially, or that can be just in terms of your career in general. With the relationship stuff, with the Four of Cups, so I've already explained this card a couple times, so you've probably already heard it, but, you know, that coming up for a relationship that's stable, I really feel like this is about taking more time, and this could be you or your partner, to really prioritize each other, right? Like the Three of Cups is like, you know, we get into a relationship, we get into the grind, people get comfortable, you know, we're more prone to just want to kind of complain about little things and not always appreciate, you know, stuff that our partners do for us, or maybe we have a tendency to kind of overlook their needs, or we're feeling like they're overlooking ours. And the Ace of Cups is being offered. So it's about like taking time to like stop and smell the roses. It's about being appreciative of what we do have and not harping too much on what we don't have or what people are doing wrong. This can also mean that you're quite literally, you know, going out of your way, or you're hoping that this will be done for you, or somebody's going out of their way to be more affectionate, or to be more romantic. You know, like this could literally be like somebody, you know, you make dinner for your partner when they come home and you hand them a glass of wine or something, you know, to brighten their day. This is about pulling them out of a funk, or feeling like if you've hit a point in your relationship where things are good, but you're like, there isn't a lot of romance, or there isn't a lot of spontaneity, or we're like kind of losing that spark, rather than kind of just becoming complacent and settling with that and just being like, it is what it is. It's like, no, really making an effort to really connect with that other person. And if you're the person who's feeling that way, it's about talking about that, but also leading, you know, some of your, you know, your habits and your behavior, and that can actually soften. Because, you know, you hand somebody a glass of wine when they come home from work, generally you're going to see a big sigh of relief, right? You know, or you do something for them that they could appreciate. You put their laundry away, you help them clean something up, you do something and they're like, oh, thank you. That's the kind of reaction you guys want to be getting from each other, that you guys are actually helping and supporting each other and building each other up, or being considerate of one another, and that can actually kind of break up what can feel like a little bit of like stuffiness or stagnance in your relationship, right? Anyway, I hope that that's helpful for you. I hope you get that house, or you develop the home in Mexico, or whatever is going on there. It looks like it's going to be some reason to kind of celebrate, and that it'll go really well. You'll have to let me know. What's up, Robbie? All right, so we have David, Laurie, Pauline, Tiana, Dante. How do you pronounce this name? Aisha. Am I saying that correct? Stephanie, Cheyenne, Leah. All right. I'm still waiting for Lightwork Enterprises, so if you're around, let me know. All right, we've got David, and then Lori and Pauline. So Lori, she said, if you can't see my question, let the universe decide my reading. All right. All right, so David says, this is Dave. 3-card reading about the next relationship. Is she out there? What's up, Dave? Welcome back. Let's take a look. Let's see what we can tell Dave. Is she out there? Oh, Dave, she's out there. She is out there, my dude. All right, so this, and it was in this order, okay? And these are some of the better cards that you could have pulled for the question that you asked me. 4 of Wands, the Empress, and the Page of Cups. Look for a connection that could be a water sign. So it could be like a Cancer, Pisces, or a Scorpio. Or it could be somebody who shows up right around March, right, of 2025. Could be sooner, but 4 of Wands is a gathering, a get-together, a celebration. Think of like this is like a party, this is a wedding, this is like a music festival, an art fair, something that's temporary. So like the 4 of Wands is like, you know, a show comes into town, or there is like some big like meetup, or, you know, there is like some event that happens over a weekend. That's likely how you're going to meet someone. And the Four of Wands specifically is a wedding card. So I'm not saying that you have to go to a wedding, but if you get invited to one, I would go. Or if you hear that there's going to be a celebratory something because there is an engagement or there is some kind of family get together or friend get together, I would go. And Four of Wands does talk about really finding time to get out and socialize and like enjoy yourself. Like this is the card that's like, if you were to, you know, go out and hang out with your friends and grab a couple drinks and, you know, go out and go dancing, like you'd be on the dance floor and bump into somebody. And like, because you were living and you were in the moment, somebody appears. So it's not like you have to go out looking for somebody. You will end up connecting with somebody, but it's going to be when you're in the process of being like, I'm having fun, I'm living life. I'm not even trying to meet someone. The Empress is probably the card that you want to pull. So if you're looking for a relationship, you're looking for a partner, you've got the Queens, right, which are great. And you've also got the Pages, which can talk about new opportunities. But the Empress is like the queen of all of the queens. Like she embodies all of the different elements of the tarot suits. And she can be somebody who shows up right around like March, April, in the spring, okay? And she dresses good. She's beautiful. She's feminine. She carries herself well. There is this nurturing and kind of like maternal energy. And like the Empress and the Four of Wands, I'm like wondering, like, are you going to go to a family get together and then meet someone? Like, are you going to have like one of your family friends like introduce you to someone? Heads up, she could be a mom. So the Empress is usually like a mother energy. And it's connected to the Page. So she could have a son or a daughter, okay? A little kid. It's not like a teenager. It's going to be somebody who's going to be younger. And you, I mean, like literally, like you may go to like a fair, you may go shopping, you may be out at like some kind of like city event and you see like a beautiful woman and her kid. That's what you want to watch for. And there will be some kind of connection, because if you look at the Four of Wands, there's two people that are celebrating and kind of coming together, and like they have something in common. There's something that brings them together. And the Empress is somebody also who is, she's like the whole package. Like this is somebody who like, there's no catch, you know, you're like, okay, what's the catch? You're going to meet her and you're like, what, like, why me? You know, like, why are you interested in me? But she will be a very lovely person. She can also be strongly associated with Venus. So she can, you know, have symbols relating to Venus. She can also have like flowers in her hair or a flower crown or something like that, that will be very connected to the Empress, because it's associated with Venus. She's got this Venus shield. And then you've got the Page of Cups, which in itself, that card is a representation of a new opportunity for a relationship. So meeting somebody new, some seed being planted, developing it, a really kind of nice, sweet, you know, kind of innocent connection. But because the Page coming up with the mother makes me feel like she could have a kid. And that might be one of the signs or the symbols that you're looking for. But this is the opportunity, right, to connect. It could also be somebody who says to you, do you want some? You know, there's a fish in the cup that's being offered. Do you want some? Try this. If somebody says, oh, try this, I would be like, oh, is it her? Or she's offering you, you know, a sample of something. Or she's saying, oh my God, you come over here, listen to this music. It's great. Like, that's your sign. She's gonna somehow signal to you, or she's gonna say, oh, come over here and try this or experience this with me. That's the sign that you want to look for, okay? But sometime, if not around the spring, by the spring is generally when I see this happening. And like, I would be going on the internet and be looking at when there's going to be local festivities, where there's going to be live music, where there's going to be fairs, where there's going to be celebrations and stuff going on in your local city. And if you get invited to any of these like celebrations or like parties or gatherings or get-togethers, especially if it's revolving around women, like if you know, one of your friends is, getting married, and then, you go to the wedding, there's going to be a bunch of single women there. It's a good place to meet women, actually. Or if you know that there's going to be like a birthday party or something, or like a gathering with friends, go. Or if a female friend or a female family member tries to introduce you to somebody, go. Okay? So don't turn anything down social. And watch when somebody tries to hand you something. It could be as simple as, they're handing out slices of cake at a party, and you walk over and she's like, do you want some? And you're like, oh, it's her. Like, talk to those people who offer you things, because likely that'll be the sign or the symbol that that's the Empress. Okay? Keep us updated. We want to hear all about it. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Thanks for popping in. I've got Lori, Pauline, and Tiana. While doing a tarot reading, does the king and queen resemble per gender? Yeah, it generally it does. But it can be, if you're doing a reading about a woman and a king comes up, they're embodying the masculine energy of that. They're putting it into action, right? All right, well, I'm trying to see if I can get Lori's question because PayPal is being a pain. Let's see if I can get it here. I wonder if Lightworker is the person who said they were going to be working and couldn't attend the session. That is very possible. Thank you for throwing that out there. I wonder if that is Nancy. Oh, man. And Nancy had questions about a relationship specifically, and I can't see it. So I might just give her a general reading and have to pin it. All right, let me see if I can pull this up. So this is Lori that's coming up. Good catch on that. Thank you. Let the universe decide my reading. All right. In the meantime, Pauline, if you can send me your question on the chat, and Chandra, if you can send me your question on the chat, I would be so grateful. All right, so what do we need to tell Lori, who has all this like Sag and Leo in her chart? What does she need to be aware of? All right, so it was in this order. Hierophant, 7 of Coins, Queen of Cups. Well, you know, I think for me, looking at this, a lot of this seems to be like some stuff that could be coming up about some of your long-term plans. And I don't know if this is going to be more relating to like your career, or this is more relating to like life decisions and like kind of like growing up stuff. So you've got the Hierophant coming up, which can be talking about the association with Taurus. That can be very much kind of connected to long-term goals and things that are going on with your career, right? And what you're planning. But also it's like, who am I and what am I doing? When the Hierophant comes up, usually we're seeking some kind of guidance. And whether that's like getting a reading, talking to a therapist, talking to an elder relative, you know, going and getting some like career advice, or like working with a teacher or a mentor. This particular card is kind of saying like you're in a period where you're like, okay, I feel like I need to make some long-term plans and I need to talk to somebody and get some advice. It can also be a time where you're feeling like you need somebody to kind of be like the go-between. Like the Hierophant is almost like the Pope. It was the go-between between like, you know, God or the higher power and also people, and would give advice and tell people what to do and like how to follow, you know, up with things. And the Hierophant can be literally talking about the energy of Taurus. What are we building? You know, taking stock of what we have, where we're going, and then reevaluating things, and then being like, okay, so, you know, what are my goals? What's next? And this is life stuff. So career, where you're living, you know, relationship and partnership stuff. Sometimes this is also seen a card that's associated with like long-term commitment, be that professional or romantic. 7 of Coins tells me that you're really thinking everything over, like all of your options. And there is a sense of you being like, okay, I recognize and I realize that, you know, some of the decisions that are at play right now, there definitely is a sense of you needing to really think it through. And I don't know if this is from like a financial perspective, because the 7 of Pentacles is like, you know, I don't want to make a move unless I know it's going to pay off, or I don't want to make an investment unless I know that it's going to do well, or, you know, I don't want to take any chances unless I know it's going to be stable. But 7 of Coins is saying you're reassessing where you're going, and you're being very cautious about where you're planting seeds, you know, moving forward, and really saying to yourself, am I making decisions right now that are going to be the most fortuitous for me? Right. And also a lot of this is taking chances. You never know. 7 of Coins is saying, you know, you could go and you could lay some seeds out there, but there's no guarantee that they're going to grow and turn into crops and that you're going to have food. But you never know until you take a chance. I do feel like the 7 of Coins is also about you really thinking about like long-term financial stuff, like strategy. Like I think of like the Hierophant as having some kind of form and like having like a process and a system where you're like, okay, I'm going to be thinking about long-term investments I'm making, or savings, or what I'm going to be paying off, things like that. and making sure that it's also in alignment with where you're at emotionally, right? Because this could be your values in general changing, and you're kind of like, well, maybe I need to kind of reevaluate some things and move some things around, and maybe I'm prioritizing this too much, not enough of that. And if I remember correctly, I believe like all your saggy stuff was like in the fourth, going into the fifth house. So you should be a Leo rising. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you know, like Mars going through Leo and making some of those aspects to your fifth house, and then you'll have a retrograde in your fifth house, is going to be stuff like, how can I start doing things that are going to make me happy? How can I focus on, new hobbies? Am I making friends? Am I feeling romantically connected to my partner? There might be stuff where you're thinking about having children. And so like, I look at the Hierophant and the Seven of Coins where you're like, where I'm at in my life right now, do I have a life, or do I have a schedule, or do I have a job that's going to be able to facilitate me doing the things that I want? And it could be that you're starting to think about, well, am I getting to where I want to settle down? Am I going to do that? Or am I going to be having kids? Like, am I going to afford that? Or it's about how much you're investing into the things that are going to feel like they're going to bring you joy. And if you have all that fire in your chart, you have to have fun. You have to have an outlet. You have to have creativity. So the Queen of Cups is about nurturing that. It's about getting in touch with that. This can also be support that's kind of coming in from water signs. So it can be Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces. It can be about you embracing your much more intuitive, sensitive, feminine side. It can also be about you like learning to kind of trust your gut a little bit more and not over analyzing things too much, like going with your intuition and being like, you know what, I feel like these are the necessary changes or risks I need to make, excuse me, in order to feel more emotionally fulfilled and complete. I think it's about trusting yourself. You have all that fire and you get the Queen of Cups. It's like, what's coming up for you is that you're like, I just have to, make decisions that may not necessarily seem logical. And that's generally what you want to do with these cards. But the Queen of Cups is like, no, my gut or my heart is telling me something else. And if these are the changes that I need to make, then I need to start thinking about what the long-term repercussions are going to be and like how I need to physically and financially prepare for that down the road, right? I'm wondering, like the Hierophant, the Seven of Coins, like, are you reevaluating your career? I think it might be more work related there. Yeah. I mean, it is about long-term goals and like structure, right? The Hierophant is like who you are out in the world. And if you're thinking about if there's other opportunities, Seven of Coins can be like, well, I've got something stable now. Should I really leave? Like this is stable. Like, am I taking a risk? Like, what if it doesn't pay off? And I feel like the Queen of Cups is like really asking yourself where you're at right now with the work that you're doing emotionally. Do you feel good about it? Or do you have a hunch that something's going to change? And pay attention to that full moon in mid-November. That full moon in your 10th house is going to be like a big one, right? Because it's going to be in an angular house. It's going to oppose stuff in the fourth. It's going to be conjunct Uranus. So you're going to see that there's going to be some very significant shift that's going to happen at work. And it doesn't mean it has to be bad. The trines will be to Pluto. So it means that it could be something going on where there's some change with management, or there's some change with the company, or maybe, you have some newfound sense of responsibility. But if you're questioning what else is out there, follow that. You don't need to make any big moves right now. I think that if you're going to make any moves work-wise, likely it probably wouldn't be something that you're going to see until down the road. Maybe you will see this be something that's taking place in like December, January. Maybe you'll see this take place in the spring. But right now, I think this is more about kind of asking yourself, if I stay where I'm at, am I going to be happy? And am I not taking the necessary risks, or at least venturing out to see what else that there is, and kind of getting outside of your comfort zone when it comes to your career? Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, so if you're going to hear about that stuff, watch what happens in November. That full moon could be something that suddenly opens up, What's up, Enchanted? Definitely go for it. There's so many powerful transits, especially like in like December, January for like Leo risings for work. I think that would be the natural kind of time when you see things that would be opening up for you. All right, so Pauline, and I have Tiana's question, and then Dante and Chandra. Chandra says, what do I need to know? Thank you guys for sending your questions twice. I apologize. I know that's annoying. Polly says, I'm Pauline. I'd love to know any insights or changes for me and my family. My husband and my 3 kids. I can feel it intuitively, but I'd like some guidance on timing. Gemini rising, Leo sun, Taurus moon. Your husband's a Taurus rising, Sag sun, Cancer moon. So you got a Taurus rising and you have got a Gemini rising. Well, I think about as a Gemini rising, you know, you had the Mercury retrograde that happened not too long ago in Virgo. So like the opposition and the square that was kind of happening to your 4th house was about like discussing and talking about changes that might be coming. And maybe you started feeling that in like August and September. But let's see what the cards say. All the mutable signs are going to have big change, especially with Jupiter square Saturn in December and Mercury retrograde in November. A lot of that's going to be about like getting on the same page as your partner, you know? So let's see what we can tell Polly. Well, change is definitely coming. And it might feel kind of weird because when you're like, oh, I feel like I feel something is coming, but I can't quite see clearly. Yeah, right now you're coming up as the hangman. So I don't necessarily see this being a bad thing because the world card is saying like, you know, there are certain cycles that are coming into completion. And obviously the hangman and the world card are major arcana cards. So this is saying like there are big changes kind of on the horizon. 8 of coins is more, I kind of see this as like preparation. I could see this as you getting prepared to make a change. And it could be that you're working on things around the home, you're preparing the home, maybe you're buying things that you feel like, you know, you need for a move. Maybe there is a sense of you like focusing on working more and like saving money and like resources to make it possible to make a move. To me, it almost looks like you guys are working harder than ever because you're anticipating that this change is coming. And it can just quite literally be from a financial perspective, you know, we're working hard, we're paying things off, we're saving money, like we're trying to get to a point where, okay, if there is some kind of record scratch moment and then we have to pivot and we have to make the change, then the change is going to be easier to be made. So I don't know what you're physically doing in the home. Like I think about, you know, you being a mutable rising, you've got Saturn going through your 10th house. So like most likely most of the changes that would be happening would be for like, if you have a job, if you're working, your job and your career, right? Or it would be something connecting to your status out in the world. Or believe it or not, the 10th house where Saturn is represents your husband's family, his parents, his siblings, that stuff. And you're going to see that the retrogrades in the spring could be about you having a change at work, but it could also be about your husband's family going through some changes which impacts you. But I think right now it's about financial and physical preparation. Like there's nothing that you can really do right now. And if there's going to be a change, likely you're going to see some of the bigger changes actually come as a result of the Mars retrograde, right? Mars going retrograde in Leo is going to square your moon and your husband's rising sign. So Mars retrograde in the 4th is like changing direction, revolving around what's going on with his family. So there's something going on there that's like, whether it's rearranging your home, repairing your home, you know, reevaluating where you're living or something going on with his family, you'll see it and it'll impact you moon-wise as well. So it'll be definitely impacting you emotionally as well as like your home and family. We've been working hard, we own a business and we'd love to move eventually. I mean, personally, I feel like the hangman is kind of saying like you guys are in suspension right now. Like there's the sense of being like, something is coming, but it's too soon to know what that is, and it's too soon to make a move. And I think with the world card coming up, it's saying like there is going to be some cycle that's complete. You guys are going to get to a point where you're like, okay, now we're ready to go. To me, it feels like, you know, if this means that you guys decide you get to a point where you're like, okay, we've got this business, we're either going to be expanding it, and that's what the cycle completion is about, that you're moving on to a new phase of the business. Maybe you're either bringing people in or you're deciding that you want to sell it. But there is something completing there. And she says, we've moved houses, not locations. Okay, that's fine. But there's going to be something that's going to happen that's going to involve changes with the family. And that's going to take immediate precedent. I think that for the two of you also, like there is this sense of being like, well, we're going to prepare for the worst, right? And we're going to hope for the best. And I feel like even though you're preparing for the worst, and whether that's like financially or what you're anticipating economically and how that can be impacting your business, I feel like the hangman is just kind of like, it's like, all we have to really do is kind of wait up, like hang out and wait and see what happens, especially come the turn of the year. And when you get to around about that time with the world card, you're going to see that things are completing naturally and like they're actually working in your favor. Like the World card comes up when you're being rewarded for doing everything right. When you have actually gone through all the motions, you are finally to a point where if you are meant to kind of like walk away from a business or sell something or whatever, like it's a good thing. Think of it as like a graduation, right? That's really more of what this is. You're going to be graduating. And she says, my husband has been prepping. Yeah, it's a very like Taurus rising kind of thing. So that doesn't surprise me. It's smart. I don't think that's silly at all. I think that that's really smart because with Mars in opposition to Pluto, you're going to see a lot of weirdness in certain cities. It's hard to say where, but we're going to see some weirdness in certain cities. So if some people feel uncomfortable going out, then like, yeah, if you have necessary supplies and stuff, then yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think within the next year or so, I think a lot of the events that are going to take place and people who have made fun of preppers, they're going to be like, oh, we should have listened. Like, I genuinely do feel that. So, yeah, be thankful. Your Taurus moon should be very appreciative of that. But I don't necessarily see this being bad. Like, the Hangman is just kind of like, whatever happens, happens. We have no control over it. We're going to wait and see. But also, this is a card that's about enlightenment. Like when you take a step back with this card and you're like, what's really important? What do I really want to be doing? Or like, what's actually going to be best for our family? Or like, where are we really supposed to live? The answers start to come. And maybe there's this feeling that you're waiting for like the dust to kind of settle a little bit in the new year before you make any bigger decisions, maybe with what's going on with your business that may impact ultimately where you're going to be living, you know? But like you guys are doing great. You couldn't ask for better cards. The 8 of coins and the World card is basically saying like business is doing very well. Like there's no issues in that department. Really, it's kind of going like, okay, everything's good there, but like what are we not seeing or like what are we avoiding changing? And I would say, well, maybe it can be that there are things that you guys are wanting as a family or as like within a relationship that you're wanting, but you feel like all of your energy and attention has been kind of focused on, you know, the business. And that may balance itself out, especially kind of right around the beginning of the year. But yeah, keep on keeping on with that 8 of coins. You guys are doing very well. You guys work well as a team if you do any kind of work together in any way. I think they're definitely very productive. All right. So what else do we have here? So we've got Tiana, Dante, Chandra. You guys are all next on my list. You're welcome, Polly. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so for Tiana, I know you sent your question, so I appreciate it. Where was that? She says, sending my question. Should I welcome Mr. Nelson's apology and attempt to rekindle the romantic connection? All right, so let's ask the cards. Should she accept Mr. Nelson's apology? Is there any chance for rekindling the romantic connection? This one. Oh boy. 7 of Swords. Same shit, different day. That's what kind of comes to mind for me. I don't even know who this is or what the deal is, but 7 of Swords is not a card that would make me very optimistic and positive that somebody's going to apologize and actually course correct their behavior and not do what they did again, right? Because the 7 of Swords is a card that's like a little tricky. There can be a sense of, you know, being told what you want to hear, or there can be a sense of, you know, kind of feeling like, man, I can't really trust that this person is actually like really going to change, right? Or there can be the sense of being like, you know, them telling you, I've changed, you know, I'm better. And you're like, And this isn't me saying it's a bad person, all right? Like, I don't think this is somebody who's like out to get you. But I think with the confirmation card of the 4 of coins is like it's saying you have reason to be very unsure as to whether or not you can actually trust letting this person back into your life. That there is something saying to you with that 4 of coins, like, you know, either, you know, they're going to have to earn their way back. They're going to have to prove it. It's going to take time. I'm not just going to immediately, you know, let them back in, or I'm not going to immediately kind of give them, you know, clearance. And that this may be a process, and that if they really do want to kind of make things better, they will go the distance. And like for me, in my opinion, the 7 of Swords, that's coming up for a card that's like a card for a man. I would be like, okay, you know, like anything they tell you may sound good, but like actions speak louder than words. And this recognition that he's going to have that he's done some damage, you know, like that needs to happen. And does he get super frustrated because you don't just easily bend and then like kind of check out, right? So he has to do more, and he also has a lot of fixing when it comes to your trust, because the Seven of Swords means we can't necessarily trust them. And so you have reason to have trust issues with this person. They want to apologize, great. Let them apologize with their behavior. And if he gets frustrated that you're going to make him kind of go through the obstacle course to kind of win you back over, and if he just says like, oh, forget it, this is too much, this and that, okay, bye. You know, he needs to realize and recognize that it's going to take time to kind of gain your trust back. Be cautious. All right, so we have Dante, and then we have Chandra. Chandra, did you send your question for me? If you didn't, if you could send it. Actually, Chandra and Cheyenne and Leah. Lee. Send me your questions if you could. I would appreciate it. So I'm going to take Dante. Dante says, will I find out something about my girl that will make me break up with her on December 21st? I am August 6, 1992. So you're a Leo. And I wonder why you have the date December 21st. I'm curious. Can you tell me? Okay, thanks, Chandra. I'll find it in just a second. Can you tell me that? Anything in particular? I'm going to look at my astrology really quick. I want to see, what is December 21st? Is that like a big ingress or something? Pluto in Aquarius, Sun in Capricorn. Mars is opposing Pluto. Okay, so just in general terms, being a Leo and having Mars go retrograde through your sign in opposition to Pluto could be this whole like, am I feeling a relationship or not? But there's nothing off the bat that makes me feel weird about it. But let's see. All right. So is Dante going to have to let somebody go because he's going to find out some stuff about his partner in December? All right, so in this order, so we've got 8 of Swords, 3 of Wands, 9 of Cups. Dante, who hurt you? I kind of feel like there's this like sense of maybe being with somebody, but not fully trusting them. Like being in the relationship, but being like also like, I don't really know how to express myself or how to tell them how I'm really feeling, or there's something I'm holding on to or I'm holding inside. You know, 8 of Swords is like feeling stuck mentally and like not knowing how to see your way through something. Or, you know, 9 of Swords can mean that you have a hunch, you have an intuitive feeling, or that you just feel like it's inevitable, you know, like, oh, this is just going to happen. I have this feeling that something is going to kind of fall apart. And, you know, the 8 of Swords is about feeling stuck in a situation and powerless. So I'd be careful about how much power you're giving away, right? And being in a situation where you're like, oh, it's just inevitable. Like, is this just going to happen because, you know, I have reason to not be able to trust her? Obviously, something happened. If you're saying to me, will I find something about my girl that will make me break up with her? So there's either some insecurity there already, or there's some sense of not knowing how to communicate or talk about something. There's already some kind of hang up. The positive is that the 3 of Wands and the 9 of Cups are very great cards. This is saying like, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I do think the 3 of Wands talks about a journey, traveling, meeting, connecting, reconnecting, seeing somebody after not seeing them for a while. It can mean that maybe you're stressed out because somebody was saying, look, we'll talk about it when we see each other. We'll talk about it when we kind of get together. And you're like, oh, is it going to be bad? Like, is she going to tell me something that like I don't want to hear? Like, is she waiting to talk to me about this in person because it's a bad thing? You know, 3 of Wands is kind of saying like, regardless of what you're afraid of, you will still either, you know, meet with each other, travel to see each other, connect, spend time together. And you're going to realize like it's better just to face the situation rather than to assume the worst and like, you know, delay having this conversation or delay talking to her about something. Like you show up basically. And the Nine of Cups is a positive card, one of the best cards in the deck. It's basically saying like it's going to be a good union. It's going to be a good connection. There's going to be a good talk. This is going to be about forward motion together. It's not necessarily about conflict and, you know, separating and falling apart. The Nine of Cups can also be talking about being very forward and open about what you want and like what's going to make you happy, right? Now, I don't know what the deal is with the date, but I'm just going to tell you flat out, as a Leo, Mars retrograde in your sign means you're going back and forth whether or not, you know, you are really crazy about something. And it can also be about traveling to connect with somebody because it's going to activate your 9th house. You'll have a Mercury retrograde in your 5th house of like dating and relationships. And then Pluto is now in your 7th house of relationships with a Mars opposition. If anybody's pulling out of the relationship, it's going to be you. It's not going to be the other person. And it's going to be because you're like, maybe they're not ready or, you know, they're not able to give me what I need or, you know, there's something, they're going through some kind of change. So I'm going to step back. But whatever's going on, you know, to me, it looks like it's actually worth having the conversation. It's worth kind of showing up and not assuming the worst because it looks like it's supposed to play out in your favor. And like I said, just remind yourself that the ball is really in your court. If you decide that you want to take a step back from something or somebody's going through something, you're going to be, according to your astrology, you're the one who's kind of in charge, right? It's going to be you that's going to be in charge. He says, I'm a Virgo rising, and my partner is Scorpio sun, Leo sun, Virgo rising. So you guys are both Virgo risings. So you both are having North Node eclipses in the 7th. You both are having retrogrades in the 7th. There's going to be lots of changes going on, I think, in relationships for both of you guys, like, you know, especially going into the spring of next year. But it helps that you both have the same ascendant because you guys are on the same path with where you're going, right? So there's something that's like developing where, you know, you're going in the direction of like growth. And it can mean that both parties are kind of unsure about, you know, being open about what they want, or there is some fear of, you know, vulnerability and being seen or anything like that. A vault of information will release, I'll say that. Well, I mean, you know, the cards are positive. Even if the 8 of Swords is just kind of like, man, don't want to talk about this stuff. We don't want this stuff to be, you know, brought up. We don't want to do this back and forth. Like now with the 3 of Wands coming up, I feel like it's about really kind of embracing the situation and being like, okay, you know what, whatever it is, we're going to kind of get through it. And I feel like the 9 of Cups is a card that's saying that things play out well for you. And whether that's you going like, okay, I had a feeling that, you know, X, Y, and Z was going on, but, you know, it is what it is. Although I'm not really seeing any deceptive lying cards that are coming up. But both of your charts are very, very, very prepped and primed to like really deal with like disclosure in relationships. That's just the nature of Saturn and Neptune in your 7th. I think a lot of it's also retrogrades that are going to be happening in your 12th, where there can be a lot of like drama behind the scenes of romantic relationships. But as you start to see the Mars-Pluto stuff start to kind of set up, that's what's going to give you like more clarity as to whether or not you guys are on the same page. And it's going to be about stuff that's happening behind the scenes, right? And it can be in private, or it can be things that are kind of connected to health habits, even like work, things like that, that can be coming out as well. Exposure is generally connected to like the 12th or the 8th house. So with eclipses still going on in the 8th house and retrogrades in the 12th, stuff's going to come up. But I feel like worst case scenario, it'll be you going like, okay, if I had any doubts or issues or concerns, now I feel like it's confirmed, you know, how I've been feeling. And like, now I'm the one who's going to make the decision kind of moving forward. So I hope that that's helpful for you. That sounds particularly juicy. Particularly juicy. Let's see. So Chandra says, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? And once again, if Cheyenne is here and Leah is here, please send me your question. All right, so we have, let's see, Chandra, and then, okay. So Chandra says, what do I need to know? What's up, Trader Mike? I will be back next Friday. What does Chandra need to know? Oh, girl. These are some cards. Well, I kind of look at this and I'm like, well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we've got the Devil card, the Tower card, and the Nine of Wands. And obviously these are two major cards, and these are some heavy cards. So the Devil can be dealing with Saturn. It can be dealing with Pluto and Capricorn. Both of these energies are strongly tied to the Devil card. Limitation, feeling stuck in a situation, feeling burdened by something, not knowing how to get out of an old outdated pattern, having some issues that are coming up revolving around sometimes like feeling stuck, especially when it comes to like a bad habit or like a career related thing, and feeling like something has some kind of like heaviness or like weight over you, right? And then it's making it difficult for you to break free. The Now card that you're getting is the Tower card. And when the Tower card comes up, especially after the Devil, it's like, okay, I've been restricted in this situation, or this thing has been making me feel like I'm like really bogged down and I don't know how to kind of end it or kind of clear this up. The Tower card's like coming through and just like smacking the Jenga table, like the Jenga tower, and like knocking everything down. So there's no other option but to restack and rebuild. So rather than staying in that situation where you have been feeling disempowered or limited or afraid of making change or leaving a situation, the Tower comes through, and sometimes it makes a decision for you. Okay, so it's like there is something that happens and then you're like, okay, well now I really do have to walk away from this. Or like, now it really is done. And it can be somehow connected to something you've been thinking about or a way that you've been feeling. Like if you've been like, man, I really hate this situation, or I hate my job, or this relationship is just like too much for me. And then the Tower card comes up and it's like, because there has been this feeling of being limited, the Tower shakes everything up and it levels it intentionally so you break free, right? And it doesn't seem like it. It seems like you get hit by a Mack truck usually when this card comes. But what's interesting is that in spite of that, you have the Nine of Wands, which is like the overcoming card. It is the assessing the damage card. It's looking around being like, oh my God, like at least I got out of there, or, you know, like I'm shaken up, or this feels like it's a really difficult task, but I continue on, I carry on, right? So there is some sense, I think, also with like, you know, Mars has connections and associations with the Tower. Obviously Capricorn is associated with the Devil card, and like Mars and Pluto in Capricorn, they're opposing each other. So I would be curious which houses are Cancer and Capricorn in your chart right now, because I feel like this is really speaking to that. I also think that this is about like embracing some of the changes that are coming, because even though they may feel like kind of like sudden or unexpected, like they're here to actually free you from a situation and give you like an opportunity to kind of like start over and have new abilities that are being presented to you. Like I said, the Devil can be about health, habits, career, or anything like that. I also think that, you know, the Nine of Wands is about like looking at things and being like, look, here's the deal. You know, like whatever happened, like I have no other choice but to move forward, and being thankful that you're being given this new opportunity, even if it's going to require a little bit of downtime or kind of reorganizing or restructuring or, you know, kind of moving some things around. And it is seen as a card where, you know, you have a lot of appreciation for not getting stuck with where you were, right? So it's about being like, okay, at least I got out of that. So I hope that's helpful. I'm wondering what you got going on, because there's definitely something that's kind of going on in regards to feeling like there's either a power struggle or trying to kind of break free of a situation. And it looks like you will be able to do that, but you're going to feel like you just barely do it. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Like I don't have it in me to like now figure out the next step, but really focus on like healing, you know? So I hope that's helpful for you, Chandra. All right, so we've got Aisha. You're welcome. Aisha says, I would like to buy land, but I don't know if this is the right time. I need your guidance. And you were born 10/17/91. You're welcome. Be a really good time to do like a road opener candle, Chandra. Or do something that's like a, you know, like a blockbuster, like blowing through things, so to like really help clear everything up to make whatever transition you're going through a little bit easier. Mars is candles, it's fire. All right, so we have got, it's Aisha. So Aisha wants to know if she should buy land and if it's the right time. All right, let's take a look. Where are you thinking about buying land? All right. So we've got the Knight of Swords, we've got the Empress, and we've got the Six of Swords. So first of all, it looks like you're definitely going to be moving and buying land. Like that is going to happen, especially because the Empress is something that's like fertile and it's connecting with nature and it's working with the land. But I'm getting the impression and the vibe that either A, you're going to still be looking at areas, you're still going to be traveling to areas, or you're going to be considering areas that might be further away. It might also mean that you're looking for land by water, or that has a water source, or something that's going to be easily accessible. But six of Swords is usually about 6 months. Okay, so you might actually see that as you're getting into the springtime, this is when it's most likely to happen. Think like March, April, May. Like this is the time when you're most likely to do that. Also, you know, the Empress is saying that you're really focused on having something that's going to have substantial value, something that you feel like more connected to the earth, you can hold on to, it can develop and like bring in more resources, whether that's through gardening, or maybe you end up building something, or you want to find another way to be able to use the land. And also like the Empress can be about you handling the situation and like having some kind of ownership, but it can be about involvement of women. So it can be like female realtors, sisters, aunts, mothers, you know, some connection to like relative or family that can help you with the process of like going through this purchase and like ownership. Knight of Swords, which tells me that when the opportunity comes, you're going to jump on it like very quickly. A lot of it's going to depend on your own personal astrology, but I will tell you, just knowing that, you know, you're a Libra, you know, Pluto hanging out, being in Capricorn is like some critical turning point in regards to land in a living situation or family. And Mars is in opposition. So it means that it's going to be like this back and forth that you're doing really until April, where you're like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I move here? Do I not move here? Do I buy something? Full moon is coming in Taurus around mid-November, and that can be about, you know, some kind of dramatic, unexpected purchase involving land. And it will trine Venus, which will be hanging out in your 4th house. So, you know, you may be feeling inclined to jump on something now, I guess is what I'm saying. But in my opinion, I think there's going to be something better that you're going to find if you wait until the spring. And I think that if you're looking at a couple different areas and you're either going with another relative, looking at stuff with other family members, you know, you will ultimately end up signing the deal and buying something, I think, in the spring of 2025. And it may pay off to look at different areas and also wait and see, because I think you'll actually be able to get more for less, or for what you're looking to spend next year. Not so much right now. Okay. And yeah, Knight of Swords is like, you might see that there are things that are like popping up and you're like, I'm going to go look at it now, or I'm going to do this. But like, actually, you know, the more time that you spend looking and like looking at land and making sure it's going to have the resources and the things that you want, the better, right? Especially because water is coming up. I hope that that's helpful for you. Good luck with that house, or finding the land, I guess. I don't know. I would assume there would inevitably be a house, but finding your land. All right, we've got Stephanie, who wants a general love reading for the next 6 months. And for Leah, thank you. And I also got Cheyenne. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. All right. So for Stephanie, let's see what we can tell her for love for the better part of the next 6 months. I swear, it's like the 4 of Cups and the 8 of Swords has definitely been a theme, huh? All right, so we've got 8 of Swords, 7 of Cups, and the King of Swords. All right, so Stephanie, here's my thoughts on this, all right? Inevitably, you may be, on one hand, dealing with like an air sign. So it can be like a Gemini, Libra, or it can be an Aquarius. Or this can be, with the King of Swords, you embracing a much more direct, to the point communication style, being a little bit more forthcoming with people about what you want and what you need, and like cutting right to the chase, right? And feeling like when it comes to relationships that you need clarity, that people hear you, that there is a really good, you know, a mental, emotional kind of connection. It's not just about physical stuff. You need somebody who's going to keep you kind of like interested, and you're going to be able to
converse with them and have, you know, an opportunity to have like an intelligent kind of communication and connection with them. I'm not so crazy about the cards that are coming with the past. I feel like the 8 of Swords coming up with the 7 of Cups is a lot of like having been in situations where you either felt stuck or you felt like it was difficult to get out of some of your old patterns, especially when it came to like dealing with old relationship habits, or maybe feeling like you were doubting yourself or you were feeling stuck or that you weren't really feeling seen. And granted, that is in the past, okay? But you're moving away from that. So I don't want you to harp too much on the past. I don't want you to fixate on the past. Who you've been with, what has happened, any doubts that you have. Like, we really want to focus on letting that go. Because your mind is going to have a huge impact on your relationship for the next 6 months, right? So if you're in that frame of mind that's like, I'm stuck, nothing's working, nothing's moving forward, I'm not meeting anybody, you know, like whatever, we will perpetuate that. And so you kind of graduated from being there to now you're kind of in the middle, where now you're at the 7 of Cups. And this is, on one hand, it can be positive because you're like, I have options. Where it's like, okay, I could go on a date with this person, I go on a date with that person, and I can kind of go and sample and see what's out there and see what I like, which I think is good. But by the same token, the 7 of Cups is also like confused, and it can be a tendency where, you know, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, then suddenly all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what I want, I'm confused. You know, I thought I really wanted to meet somebody, and it turns out like maybe I'm not ready, and, you know, or maybe, you know, like somebody really kind of gave me the ick, so, you know, I think I'm taking a step back, and I don't know what I want to do with the situation, I'm confused. Like, do not jump in head first into anything for the next 6 months. That's my advice. See what you like, see what's out there. There will be options, there will be choices, but a lot of this is also, it's going to be easier to navigate if you're more clear with what it is that you're looking for. And so the 7 of Cups, I think that we can definitely kind of get in our heads a little bit. It is a lot easier than the 8 of Swords because at least we're more open and optimistic when it comes to relationships, but you don't always know what you're going to get. And so it can mean that you have to keep those options open because, you know, there can be some surprises along the way, and, you know, it takes time to like really kind of get to know somebody with that card. Could an air sign show up, a really charming, direct, communicative person who's emotionally mature, smart, you know, somebody who is going to take charge. They're not going to have a problem initiating, you know, kind of chats with you and telling you what's on their mind. They could be in writing, communication, anything in regards to education, travel, these kinds of things. And I think the King of Swords can really be talking more about not just who you're meeting, but how you're kind of connecting with people and like how you're coming across when it comes to dating and relationships. The card on the bottom is the Knight of Cups. So it is saying that the confirmation is that likely it's going to be a relationship with somebody. It'll be something that there will be romance to, there will be attraction to. But it's going to be about being very cut and clear and to the point in regards to what you're looking for and what you want. There's not going to be any guessing games. There's no playing games, no chasing around, like no going back and forth. Like you're not doing that. And so I think you're going to meet somebody who's going to appreciate that you're just really kind of direct with what your thoughts and what your feelings are, and like also just telling people, you know, like what's on your mind. And I think that you guys will have that in common, and it will really kind of enhance the likelihood of you guys having a relationship that actually really works. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Miss Todman. All right, I've got Cheyenne and Leah. I want to make sure I haven't missed anybody here. Cheyenne, Leah. I do think that light worker probably is Nancy now that I think about it. She's going to be like, why are you yelling at me? So I'll definitely plug her as well. All right, so for Cheyenne... She says, mine was just a general vibe. All right, let's take a look at that. So what is the general vibe that we can give for Cheyenne? Ooh, I like that. I will accept that any day of the week. What I like about Ace of Pentacles is that coming up for you right now makes me feel like it's more than just like, oh, you're going to get some money, right? You know, that's just the kind of like surface, like, I guess, like response to pulling the Ace of Pentacles card. But this is a card that comes up that's like really asking yourself, like taking stock in what you have. Like, where am I at in life? Where am I at with my money? Sure. But also, where am I at with my health? Where am I at with my values? Am I feeling solid? Am I feeling kind of grounded? Where do I want to have more? Where do I want to grow, right? Think of this as like a seed. So when this card comes, yeah, you could be offered a raise, you could, get a bonus, you could, get some extra cash that comes in from somewhere. Maybe you're given some kind of, offer or something, or somebody wants to loan you something, or they want to fund something. Sure, those things can happen. But I feel like for this coming up as the general vibe is I am attracting wealth. I am bringing in support. I am healthy, right? I'm wealthy, but also I'm wise with the decisions that I'm making with my resources. And this can be the first kind of phase of what ultimately ends up being a year. So like the Ace of Pentacles can be like a 1 year period where there is a lot of reinvesting in the self and learning your worth and treating yourself better and bringing in, more resources and bringing in higher quality jobs and also like lifestyle changes and better food. And like really this is about richness, not for the sake of just having things that are like rich or expensive, but like really bringing more abundance to your life all around. Think quality, right? Not necessarily quantity, because it's 1 pentacle, it's not 10. So it's the quality of the things, the people, the stuff you're eating, the stuff you're buying, bringing it into your life and focusing on having more quality is what's kind of coming up. And like, yes, it can be good for money too. So if you're making investments, you're making moves, or you're thinking about something that you're wanting to purchase or something that is a goal of yours, you're starting that process now and you're attracting more abundance into your life. Hopefully that's helpful for you. We've got Leah who says, hey, am I self-sabotaging myself out of a good relationship with my partner? I just came back from a spiritual retreat and gained clarity about my relationship and was told not to resist because I have something solid. Thanks. Cancer rising, Capricorn sun. Well, I mean, you got Cancer rising. Mars is going through your ascendant. So you're feeling feisty. You want to take action, right? And Mars is connected to love, your 5th house. And being a Capricorn sun, it's opposing your sun. So it's like, from the perspective of Capricorn, a back and forth with a relationship. From the perspective of Cancer, you're going back and forth about a relationship. And Mercury, where Jupiter is in your 12th house, is squaring Saturn, which means there needs to be a fundamental shift revolving around your beliefs about yourself, right? Self-sabotaging is the 12th house. So you're going to kind of look at what's going on with your natal Mercury placement, maybe. But let's see what the cards are saying. I think it's going to be about reworking the relationship to yourself when you take into consideration the Capricorn and the Cancer perspective. Here's what I think. I think that, 6 of Wands is a positive card. This is literally about a homecoming, which is funny because you're like, I just got home from a retreat. It's about a homecoming, and it's about coming home and then being, like well received. People being like, oh, I missed you, or where have you been, or like what have you. Like somebody being happy that you have returned and wanting to kind of celebrate your return and spend time with you. This is a positive card. This also makes me feel like this is a card of victory. So going away, having this retreat, having these realizations, things that you've been thinking about, and then you return and you're like, you know what, I think I'm doing some stuff where I'm blocking myself off from love, and like, maybe I'm not letting love in, and am I not allowing myself to like really be myself with my partner, and like, what do I need to work on? Like, it sounds like you've learned the lesson. Okay, so even if the answer is yes, you are doing these things, the awareness is everything. And the fact that you've come back with this and that you've got somebody who's still there, they still are with you, they still love you, it looks like you're like, okay, I'm actually going to like make lemonade, and I'm going to do something with this, and I'm going to like turn this into a positive where, I'm excited to be home and be aware of some of these things and all of the ways that I can better the relationship with my partner, but also with myself, right? So this is a good card. It's saying even if that's happening, you can be victorious over the situation. The card that you have crossing this is the 5 of Swords. So it's basically saying like, it's talking about where you're moving forward, not where you've been. If you want to sit down and have like a full, conversation about what's happened in the past and what you've done, and you want to address all that stuff, you can. Or you can come back and you can have this new attitude and be like, I do see some of the things that I'm doing where I'm blocking myself. I'm going to sit down, and rather than, continuing to be at odds with myself or with my partner, and have a heart to heart with them and be like, hey, we're a team, I want to work together. That may be the key. And I think any Cancer rising listening, that's what will help you. With Mars in opposition to your 7th house, you're going to be changing direction in how you go about sharing your emotions, your feelings, expressing love. And a lot of it's going to be potentially kind of toning some of the stuff down and like learning to kind of soften your approach to love and relationships. So instead of having conflict, it's about kind of catching yourself when you're in those patterns and then taking a step back and being like, you know, we're working as a team. I don't want to fight, and I'm recognizing that there are some tendencies coming up and I'm trying to change through the retrograde my reactions to things. So I think you'll be successful in doing that. I don't really see that being a problem, and I think that probably coming back is giving you a completely different perspective in maybe how you were kind of approaching relationships, and you have the opportunity to still overcome some of the challenges, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Those of you guys who are just checking in, readings have closed, so you'll have to catch me here next time. And I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to assume that Lightworker Enterprise is Nancy. And so I'm just going to say this again. I'll make sure I put the time codes here. But Nancy, I could not get my PayPal to work, so I could not see your question. But when I saw you kind of log in and you said that you have a question about Scott and you'll watch the replay, I'm going to give you a general reading about that. All right, so this is for you, Nancy, on Scott. In this order, okay, whoa, 10 of Wands, we've got the 9 of Cups and the 9 of Swords. I feel like this is really conflicting energy. Like the 10 of Wands is this feeling that's like, is it worth this? Like this is a lot to like overcome. Like I'm working really hard to try to like make something work with this person. Like it almost seems like this is like too much, and like, you know, am I wasting my time? Like, you know, am I wasting my time? Should I just give up? But the 10 of Wands is like right when you get to the part where you're about to give up is right when the tide generally starts to turn, right? So then you have the 9 of Cups, and the 9 of Cups coming up is kind of saying like you're really focused on what you want. You're focused on your goal. If your heart is set on this person and you're like, I want to make it work with him. I know it's a complicated situation. I don't know his relationship status. You know, there may be a couple things that could make it challenging for us to be able to kind of connect and come together, but like there's something there. Like the 9 of Cups makes me feel like in your heart of hearts, you know, you're telling yourself like, okay, just forget about it. But there is this sense of that person kind of coming back up for you over and over again. And you're like, yeah, that's what I would really want. Then you get the 9 of Swords, which is kind of saying like stress, confusion, worrying, especially if there is kind of like this whiplash of emotions that's going on, where on one hand you're like, okay, this is just too much, on the other hand it's like, but that's what I want, you know, or there's a strong connection, or we keep finding ways where we keep coming, you know, or crossing each other's paths. Like there's got to be some kind of purpose. And the 9 of Swords can feel like you're like racking your brain and asking yourself like, why am I punishing myself like this? Like, what am I doing? Like, is this worth this? Like, is this a good idea? And to me, it seems like it's a matter of timing. Like it could be that it's a really good match, but it's a matter of timing, and that the timing is off. And that even though you know, okay, there's a connection here, like somewhere down the road, there's going to be something, but because I can't see when or like how we're going to get to that point, a lot of frustration that's kind of coming up for you right now, and also kind of feeling like you're at a loss. Confirmation card you get is the Fool card. So this can be saying like when you have said, okay, I'm hands off, I'm leaving it alone, I'm walking away. It can also be talking about like the turn of the new year. So when you're getting into the beginning of 2025, that can be a turning point. I do think, you know, between like the retrograde that you're going to have in Leo and the retrograde you're going to have in spring in Pisces and Aries, I feel like that would be a really big turning point for relationships for you. I feel like if this is a situation where you're feeling a lot of back and forth and a lot of tension and like stress as to when, where, and how, put it on the shelf, leave it alone. Like literally don't think about it. Don't try to make something happen. Like hands off of the situation completely until you get to the new year, because it's going to drive you crazy. And then also like the Fool card is saying like there's an opportunity for a fresh start. Now it's not about breaking free. It's about being like, okay, now we have the fresh start. Like, you know, if it's going to be something, it's going to be something, but like, I'm not going to continue to do the back and forth or question, you know, where this other person stands. And also this is about a sense of freedom. Like, is it a situation where once he's free, and whether that's like from a relationship where he has more free time or he's broken away from something or whatever, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now we can move forward. Now we can proceed forward. I think there is some kind of connection there. Anyway, I know that you probably were like, I waited to the end for this, but I'll try to tag this so that way you can see it. And once again, I apologize, I can't see your question. So I know you asked something specific, but I cannot see it. So hopefully you'll be able to give me some feedback in the comments. With that being said, that is a wrap for me. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Friday night. I appreciate it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and make sure you click the bell button below. Subscribe to the channel. I will be back here next Friday. We have one heck of a new moon in Scorpio. So make sure you guys are subscribed and check out the community tab. I will be posting it probably a day or two early. So if you guys have questions about that particular new moon in Scorpio, I'm happy to take a look at your chart and we can do some astrology readings for you next week. I've got my astro calendar that's going to be coming out. So mark your calendars. It's going to be November 1st. I'm going to release it right around the time of the new moon. So next Friday, that'll be going live on my website if you guys are interested in picking one up. Thank you so much. Check out my website below, beyondtheveiltarot.com. If you want to learn how to read tarot, I'd be happy to teach you. I also teach astrology as well. Or you guys can check out my personal readings if you want to book a one-on-one with me. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your guys' weekend. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.